There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, welcome everybody back to the Yonkō Table. And look who's back in the hot seat hosting today. It is I, GrandMasterHoop. But you know, I'm never alone on this journey, except for like one time. But with me as always is my main man, fellow Yonkō, DrJaceAttorney. Dr. Jace, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, fellow Yonkō GrandMasterHoop. That one time you were on the journey on your own, you let an admiral on deck, and I'll never forget that.
Yes. You'll never let me live it down. But I've shown I can step up to the plate. So
you have, yes. And then some afterwards. You've led the charge on a lot of these journeys.
Yes, and although I'm super nervous about them sometimes, once it just starts flowing, it gets going.
It's all natural.
It's all natural. So,
yep, my day's been fantastic. I can't wait to talk about our topic today. Super excited. Very personal topic to me, and I'm sure with the rest of our guests as well. But yeah, let's get to introducing the topic and everyone else.
Sure. Yeah. Real quick, again, we like to cater to what's popping around, the entertainment business. And I think there's a lot that could be said about our current topic today. We're talking about In the Heights. The film dropped about 2 weeks ago. It is the adaptation of the Broadway play, the hit Tony Award-winning Broadway play. And I think there's a lot to be said about this film. So, let's go ahead and introduce our panel, and we'll get into what In the Heights is about and everything. But let's go ahead and introduce our panel. So, starting up, welcome back, Supernova, Darce. Darce, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm really excited to talk about this. Love musicals. I'm Hispanic, so I definitely got that input for the In the Heights musical. But I'm excited to be here.
All right. I figured you have a lot to say, Darce. So I'm glad you found the time to come on this Monday evening. Thank you, sir. Next up, we got the craftiest of crafters. I think you dubbed them that last week, Dr.
I did.
Jace.
Yeah.
Yes, Rose the crafter. Welcome back, Rose. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm back at the table, and I've brought me a guest as well. I can't eat all this food by myself. And I got a big appetite, but you always need some help.
Sure.
I'll let her introduce herself.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah.
So my name is MF Casas. I love In the Heights. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm new here, so thank you again for inviting me.
Of course, MF Casas. It's the MF for. Actually, never mind. Don't answer that. That's okay. But MF Casas, we wanted to bring you on. We know you're quite knowledgeable on In the Heights, and you can give us some nice background information later on through the podcast. So welcome. I'm glad you're sharing a plate with Rose the Crafter. Sometimes, he eats more than he can chew. So
no, she's getting her own plate.
She got her own plate.
She got her own plate.
So 2 full plates.
Yeah.
Oh,
2 full. Yeah.
All right.
2 for the day.
I think there's a lot to be served, so I think y'all will be good. Y'all might have some leftovers too, just in case. But all right, MF Casas and Rose the Crafter. Up next, we got another returning Supernova. We have DoctaReeka. DoctaReeka, welcome back. I think this is our first show together, no?
It is. Last time you were out of town, you made a guest appearance.
Oh,
that was very entertaining.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. I'm happy to be back. I love musicals. I love In the Heights. And I'm supposed to be packing. I'd rather do this. So I'm happy to be here talking about something I really love. So good to see y'all.
All right. Yes, DoctaReeka, we appreciate you took time from packing. Because you're about to start your, I don't think it's called a residency. Is it? It's an
internship, but it's basically like a residency. I'm going to Texas next week. Nothing's packed.
We're clapping it up for you, DoctaReeka.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes. Doing big things out here. Well,
send me good energy, packing tips, moving tips. I'll take it all.
Take a tip from your man Usnavi as he packed up to try to go to Dominican Republic. Just kidding. If you saw the movie, but whatever. That's all. DoctaReeka, glad to have you. Thank you. And last but not least, we have another newcomer to the cast. It's our man Apex. Apex, how you doing today?
What's up, y'all? So yeah, like you said, I'm Apex. I am definitely new to this podcast game, so this is going to be very interesting. Don't know what's going to be served on the Yonkō Table, but I am definitely open to trying new options. So let's find out.
All right, that's the energy we like here at the Yonkō Table. Just as Rose put it before, just be open. So hey, it's your first time, Apex. We'll be a little soft on you, but then we might go in. So just you're a tough guy, right? Good. You
toughest.
All right, you can hold your own. I know you can hold your own. I think we all know you can hold your own, so I'm not worried about you. But yeah, Dr. Jace, we got a full house today, man.
We got a full house. I think the last time it was this packed at the table, it was for Falcon and Winter Soldier, the finale.
Yeah, I didn't think In the Heights would bring us all here today, but I guess there's an audience who appreciated this film and or musicals in general. This is our first musical episode too.
It is.
I'm excited because we don't necessarily. We haven't done any musicals, so this is cool. But let's just open up the door since we're talking about musicals. I want to know, who here is like a musical aficionado, who and again, anybody can speak up on this. I know myself, I have my Rise Up. That's a Hamilton reference. Dr. Jace, are you a fan of musicals? How deep does your fandom, if you are one? Right.
Well, my first musical, okay, I guess to answer the question, I would say no. I'm not necessarily not in the sense that I don't think they're bad or anything, or I'm not a fan of them. I just don't go out of my way to watch them. Okay. And actually my first Broadway show I went to was Spider-Man Into the Dark.
Oh, you saw that?
I did see it before it got canceled. I did. It was one of my few trips to New York. I can tell you right now, as bad as it was, I liked it. It was Spider-Man. You had Green Goblin, you had Dr. Octopus in there. Listen, man, it was my first one and I thought it was serviceable. I'm like, oh yeah, these can be pretty cool. I can't wait to see any more. I never saw another one after that.
How did he shoot webs?
I know to swing around, he had kind of like a harness around his waist that you really couldn't see. The web part, I'm assuming it was probably confetti from what I remember. This was years ago. But yeah, man, the effects were kind of neat because you had Spider-Man zipping around up backstage and jumping down from the balcony. It was cool, man. I went in with low expectations. So
your biggest takeaway is the effects of a musical. That was your biggest takeaway?
That was my and honestly, I can't tell you the songs. I really don't remember much of the songs. Okay. But
that sounds problematic.
Yes. But that was my first one. After that, I didn't really see any more, yeah, I didn't see any more until I saw In the Heights. And that was probably the first one where I think I memorized like at least 3 to 4 songs.
Wait, you saw In the Heights on stage?
No, the movie.
Oh, okay, the movie.
I do want to see the stage play now after seeing the movie. I really do. And I still haven't seen Hamilton.
Okay.
Hamilton.
Coming back in fall.
Coming back in the fall. That's right.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm not really a musical aficionado. I'm not too into it, but based on what I've gotten with my little experience, I could say I would say it was my eye opener, right? With In the Heights. Gotcha. I think that was probably the one I'm like, oh wow, these can be really, really good. I actually want to watch some of the stage plays now. So, and
I think that's a fair way to come off of this movie. I mean, going in, I knew about Lin Manuel.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know about
I did know
too.
about that. Yes.
But I went in with a blank. I had nothing. I didn't know much of anything about this film. But let's go ahead and establish who here is the musical aficionados. I want to know who here is like loves Broadway, loves going to see the shows. Anybody can go ahead and hop in on this. Go ahead, speak your mind.
I mean, I feel like I'm not gonna say I'm an aficionado, but I do like musicals.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I performed in the musicals and I did football at the same time. Don't know how I did it, but I did both.
A regular Finn Hudson.
Yeah, basically. And then my sister, I have a little bit of a connection too. My sister, she was on Broadway when she's lived in New York. So I guess musicals are kind of like in her family. We definitely love watching them. These new movies though, it's different because there's a lot of magic that does come from like being on stage. But I love the cinematic, universe of everything. I love watching movies and you get to see a lot more, and there's goods and bads of both. So I do really like these musical adaptations. But yeah, I mean, like there's nothing like going to a theater and just watching a musical.
Fair enough.
DoctaReeka, I think you're also a bit of a musical aficionado as well.
I don't know if I'd go as far to say aficionado. I do love musicals, and I did, I had season tickets to our local theater to go see the traveling shows prior to COVID. And when I hear about a show, I try to listen to the soundtrack. I think that's probably the best way to just get to know musicals, because in most cases they're very inaccessible. So that's one thing, is I love musicals, and I would prefer to see stage adaptations, but I'm not in New York and you have to wait for the traveling shows, and then sometimes, scheduling, money, things like that. So I feel like I listen to a lot of soundtracks more than anything, just to get to know music. So I knew about In the Heights prior to the movie even being discussed, because one, having had family that grew up and were familiar with the Heights, in addition to them having seen the original stage production and then kind of bringing that back to me, I listen to the soundtrack, etc. So I love musicals, and I do my best to try to keep up with what's, hot.
You're the one who actually introduced me to In the Heights.
I do remember that. Yeah, I was visiting you, and I told you about it, and I was like, you need to listen to it. So,
yep. And
I love musicals.
Yep. What do you think about this new musical that's coming out though, to theaters?
I think that's something that we're probably gonna touch on a little later. I don't want to take up time from Apex, who I know is a big musical fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to
toss the mic.
Yes, I know Apex probably. DoctaReeka, I thought you would say yes to aficionado, but Apex, is this you?
Yeah, that's me. Yes, I definitely love musicals. As you guys all know, I do love. A lot about musicals is like, at least stage productions, is that they're in the moment. So like the actors and all of that emotion, they have so much they have to give in that one section, because it's not like a movie you keep rewatching, unless like you pay every time, or like you're recording it or something, or you have like Hamilton. But just again with like a musical, I love it because it's in the moment. So looking at In the Heights, which I have seen in like live, mind you, when I watched
you've seen it live?
Yes, I have seen it live. Mind you, when I watched it, there's a whole story on that, so I kind of was like in and out on it. But long story short, I have seen it live, and so then I go and I watch the musical, so it kind of gives you appreciation for seeing like what can be done on a stage, and then kind of seeing what can be done in a movie, and how budgets are very different. You are limited on a stage. You can't do everything, as you guys know in the movie. You can't flip the camera around and the audience is upside down all of a sudden, but definitely musicals. I've always loved musicals. I've done it in high school. I did it in elementary school. I went to school like beginning in theater, didn't end with theater, but that doesn't mean my love for theater hasn't gone away. I still have a bunch of theater soundtracks, like how DoctaReeka said. And in there I have Wicked, In the Heights, Hamilton, all that. So love music.
Well, I think you're on the right podcast. This is the episode to bring you in.
Yes.
So again, glad you're here. I want to pass it to MF Casas. MF Casas, you've seen the show too, is that correct?
Yes. So I wouldn't say that I'm like an expert on musicals, but I definitely like musicals. And the ones that I like a lot. So my first musical was Lion King, or yeah, was it? Yep. And I saw In the Heights actually on Broadway. It was my only Broadway show that I've seen. And I watched it when Corbin Bleu was Usnavi. So that was really cool.
But Corbin doesn't dance.
But listen,
he didn't dance.
Don't rain on Corbin Bleu, okay?
He doesn't dance.
Yes.
We know he can, but he doesn't.
Interesting.
So I watched it in 8th grade and I loved it. Actually, that was the best part of the whole New York trip. And I was obsessed with it because I really connected with it as a Hispanic woman. And so when I went home, I YouTubed the soundtrack and I would listen to the soundtrack all the time. And now that I have Spotify, I do listen to the album often. In fact, Rose the Crafter can attest to that. I will play it randomly, just on any day because I love the soundtrack so much. But yes, not so much I am a musical fan, but not an expert on them.
Sure, that's fine.
An appreciator.
An appreciator. That's the right word.
No, yeah. I think. Oh, go ahead, Rose the Crafter, cap us off.
You're actually talking to and in the presence of Action from West Side Story in high school. Just to throw that out there. Also, I had a small role in, A Christmas Carol. I played the frozen guy in the choir in the back. And it was really hard to be frozen for that amount of time while the scene went on. So just a little background. Similar to Darce though, I played sports and did drama my senior year just to do it, just to have fun. And it's funny, I literally had my coaches upset because I would miss practice sometimes, but then when I miss the play rehearsals in the evenings, the drama teacher be upset. So so everybody's upset. It's fine. Do whatever you want, do what you feel. That's what I say. But I say all that to really just say in all seriousness is that I'm not a big, if a musical comes out or keep up with musical or names, but I am an appreciative of art and appreciative of things creative. And kind of to some of the points that were brought up, it's amazing to see a good play in person. I've seen some plays in person. I've seen some bad ones, but still the experience. I've seen 1775, the play or whatever it's called, or it was not fun to watch. It was really boring. But it was part of a field trip I was on. I also saw Mamma Mia, which was really wild, but actually very entertaining.
Don't
so I got to see that in New York.
Musical. We've all seen that.
Yeah. I haven't seen High School Musical live though, but MS Casas, actually, I don't know who the other person is. MS Casas actually introduced me to In the Heights. When I met her, she was a big fan of In the Heights. And then actually a couple years ago, we went to the local theater here. It's called Orlando Shakes Theater. And we actually saw In the Heights, their rendition of it. And it was phenomenal. Not to mention, somebody had a seizure right beside us, which was really scary. And we actually had to get help to get this lady literally in the middle of In the Heights, in middle of a singing number, this lady is out with a seizure, literally right beside us.
We had to walk through the stage.
Had to walk through the stage because it was such a small play. We literally had to walk through the stage to help her get out.
Wow.
So that she is okay.
An experience.
At least at the time she was. So that's definitely a added point to experience. But other than that, the play was great, and then I appreciate all of that. I haven't seen Hamilton in person. Would love to see Hamilton. But what I will say is it's interesting because at first, the adaptations now with technology and the way we're going, we're In the Heights and no spoiler alert, I enjoyed it. But I think the way it's going makes you want to look forward to seeing some of these plays adapted in a certain way, at least in my opinion. Back in the day, it's a little bit tougher, right? But now with all the effects and the way you can kind of get even more creative with the budget, it makes for interesting. So it's just cool. I'm just appreciative of the art.
All right. And that is a great point you bring up. Oh, but hold the phone real quick. We got a late to the show, but ready to go. Supernova Toasty. Toasty, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
But I contacted Apple customer support, and they came through for me. So I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Great day. Enjoying my break. I'm sure you are.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So not ready to go back to work anytime soon. But yeah, ready to talk about this movie.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, Toasty, you can finish this off real quick. Just give us, are you big on musicals? Are you a fan of musicals? Whether it's going to watch, Broadway type plays or watching film adaptations, where do you stand on this musical line?
Unless it's a Disney movie, I hate musicals. But this movie was decent. I was talking to DrJace as I was watching it yesterday. It had its moment. There were moments where I was like getting bored, but it had its moment. But in terms of musical, if I have the choice to see it myself, you're not gonna catch me at a musical. No.
That's fair. Honestly, well, Toasty, I'm just gonna let you know. Everybody here is I think you and DrJace are probably like, well, no, I'm trying to draw the lines here. I think y'all
actually, DoctaReeka mentioned, I'm not sorry, DoctaReeka, MF Casas mentioned it earlier. I did see Lion King. I did forget about that. I did see that. They made one trip to Tampa, or not Tampa, but Florida one time. I do remember seeing that. Okay. But then I saw Spider-Man, and I like Spider-Man.
You saw Aladdin too, did you not?
I don't think I saw Aladdin. I feel like I would have
sworn you told me you saw Aladdin. I could have sworn you said you saw Aladdin.
I would like to see Aladdin.
That's Aladdin.
That's fine. I know. Me and Apex saw Aladdin. But either way, listen. I think we opened up a good floodgate here, talking about just if we have an appreciation or not, and what it really means to sit through a show. So with that said, that transitions to my next topic. With film adaptations, I guess there comes with a certain level of expectation. And I want to talk about what expectations do you have when one of your favorite Broadway plays is getting the live screen film adaptation? Are you like holding the cast to a certain standard with the original Broadway cast? Or are you expecting, like, how does the set design of the stage, how do you want to see that transition on screen? Let me go ahead and give it to Apex real quick. Apex, do you have any expectations when you hear about some of your favorites getting the live screen adaptation?
Yeah, I think that some expectations for a musical movie is definitely the music more than anything, I feel. Because I feel a lot of these adaptation movies, they're like, ooh, let's do the musical, but let's change the music so that way it's like new and fresh and hip, right? So I feel like whatever changes they make, or how they pick the vocalists, because sometimes they pick the actors, for different reasons, that plays a really big role. So I usually have really high expectations when it comes to the music and the soundtrack, that it's really big. Another thing, well, specific to this movie, In the Heights, when you talk about Lin Manuel Miranda, I think the expectation was, how is he going to top Hamilton? Because Hamilton came out first before In the Heights. So I think people thought that way, as opposed to, if you know musicals, In the Heights actually came out before Hamilton. So I think as viewers, they may have that different expectation on people if they don't know too much of Lin-Manuel's work. For me, my expectation wasn't, oh, he's going to top Hamilton. It was just, how is he going to bring this to life while still keeping it current? So that was more in the story aspect, but definitely my highest expectation was the music. I was like, the music, the songs got to be there, because In the Heights has all these different interjections and all this like flair and sauce and flavor. So that was my biggest one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Darce.
Oh no, I was just saying that was a good point, that I didn't even think about like expectations of Lin Manuel Miranda.
Hamilton's huge right now.
Yeah, he is huge. And I think I'm more with DoctaReeka on this one, where before we watch a musical, we'll listen to it and like we'll use our own creativity, our own imagination to kind of like be there on set and like, you know, see what it's like. So when it comes to our expectations on these movies, I think the biggest thing is like making sure that the music is like right on key. Like it's exactly like the pacing, everything has to be like exactly how we kind of listen to it, because that's our connection to those musicals. I mean, we're gonna also understand that like with movies, they get bigger budgets and they get, you know, beautiful sets and designs, and they're able to do different camera angles and show different perspectives, and that's all awesome. But yeah, I think the biggest kind of expectation that we have is to make sure that the musicals, like the musical numbers, are more along the lines of the actual Broadway play, especially the ones that we listen to on Spotify. Because I don't know if anybody else heard like the original In the Heights like opening number. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's a talking point. I got a whole section for differences that we were not. You
know, like they did a couple of switch ups, so I'm like over here, like, you know, singing it. I want to say in my head, but I was probably singing it out loud. But you know, when they mixed it up a little bit, I'm like, ooh, what? That's weird. That's different. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the music is the main focus on these musicals, you know, and that's what they have to stay true to. They can, you know, change up the cast a little bit or whatever, but I think the music is the main priority.
For me, it's three things. Like music, yes, but y'all have already brought it up, like the cast, the writing and the directing, because the story's always going to change in most cases, because stage productions, you get enough time to tell the full story, whereas the movie, you know, you're going to have to cut stuff out because they're going to want it to be a certain amount of minutes. So the writer really has to bring things together and make it make sense if you take out a character, which I know we'll talk about some changes that were made between the stage and the film. So you really have to have a writer who can put everything together and make it make sense, but also have a director that knows how to direct musicals, because it's not the same as just a drama or a comedy. You have all of these people. I was reading about and listening in on to how they were getting 60 plus people together in one area to create these productions. And it's not just straightforward in terms of, you know, you set up your camera or multiple camera angles and hope that, you know, things work out and let people do what they do. No, you have dancers and you have the cast members, and you have to get things in a certain way. So directing's super important to me. And then getting the right cast. I think Apex already brought it up. Like, you have to have not only actors, but actors who can sing. I think there tends to be, especially in the last, I'd say like 10, 15 years, they've hired the actor and just said, well, we hope you can sing. Ooh. I think Les Mis got a lot of criticism for that.
I was Russell Crowe. That's immediately when y'all.
Like,
I thought he was also Aladdin too. Let's not play with.
There's a variety, yes. So I think the cast, you got to take that into account. Like, you are creating the music, and so we want people who can act, but like in most cases you're acting through the music. The music's telling the story, so y'all better be out here and sing it, because they certainly were on the stage production. So that's what's important to me.
I know Dr. J says some choice words for Russell Crowe. Remember?
he was fine.
Okay, because y'all laughed at his little death scene.
Listen, his death scene in the movie was ridiculous, because they threw like a fake body in the water and you saw it crumple. It was unnatural. I felt like I was watching a skit from Family Guy. Like, it was any other scene, it hit the mark, but that scene in particular, no, not for me.
All right, that's fair. We digress a little. Rose, you got anything to chime in? Do you had any expectations going into this film, or just movie adaptations of these productions? Do you have any expectations?
So I'll keep it real quick, because MF beside me is itching to speak on the expectation. And mine aren't as deep. I just expect, I don't have big expectations because I'm not out looking for like a adaptation of a play or anything like that. Like, I just appreciate it. So for me, it just happened to be that this is something that I'd seen. It's something that I have friends that are connected to. So it was interesting to me that they were adapting it. But y'all have already hit on a lot of points that I feel like the music is big. The music has to tell the story. And I come from slight music background. It has to have some level of depth to it. And I think that's something that people underrate sometimes, especially when they switch stuff up or update stuff or do certain styles, is that the way music is written, it can be very influential on stuff. The way you crescendo, make something louder, or decrescendo, make something smaller, or speed up the pace or slow it down is really big. And that comes from the performances of people that sing. So I agree with DoctaReeka as well. You have to have those vocal chops on top of a balance of those acting chops. So for me, it's just going in and just making sure that people are performing their butts off. And as long as they're performing their butts off, you get at least a hint of respect from me on that. So
fair enough.
That's MF.
All right, MF over there itching. Come on.
Not necessarily itching, but Apex and I am excited about this. I am, but we were talking about, you kind of expect when you go from a play to a movie for the actors to not act very well and, just have the vocals or vice versa, right? To me, you have to act well too in order to sell the part. And I think In the Heights had some good acting and great singing and great dancers. But y'all touched on Aladdin. Aladdin was just such a bad actor. Like whoever played, and
Mina Massoud.
I felt awkward.
That's his name.
Yeah,
I
should have
felt
been called Jasmine.
Well, vice versa, you got Will Smith playing Genie, right? How did you feel about Will playing Genie?
at the beginning. It was shaky. I grew to like him as Genie because of his personality. You know him, Will Smith, so you know his personality, but. To me, the acting and the vocals and the dancing, I mean, you just gotta have it all to me.
Package deal.
And I will say transition as well, because when you're in the musical, when you're there physically, you're in a musical and you see everything taking place. But when in a movie, when they don't have transitions into the songs, for example, In the Heights had, little background music that led into songs or faded off into songs, so it didn't feel like it was an abrupt change from a movie to a musical, or like a starting of a song. I think that makes those transitions make it feel smooth, obviously not awkward, not out of place, and like you're just flowing along with the musical, with the story. So those are it for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with the transitions. A half-assed transition will take you out of the musical aspect for sure. Shout out to High School Musical.
I just want to make a quick note. One of my favorite musicals that wasn't actually like a musical, but it came out was La La Land, and their transitions from the music. Yeah, keep that to yourself. Their transitions after the songs was actually like very like abrupt. It was like bum, and then they would go to like the next scene. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with like having like little side orchestra, transition to like the set changes and things. But I think we're starting to see like, people are able to like take it like, okay, this is a musical. Musicals have like, the song has an end. Let's get to the next scene. But I don't know. I love La La Land. Get out of here with that.
Was that hot take? I like how everyone said you have to be a singer and an actor. Them La La Land stars are not singers. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. We're not here for La La.
Cannot sing.
Okay, while we're at it, that Jasmine music video in Aladdin was not my thing.
Terrible.
Do not have random music videos if they don't really match the story beat of what's going on.
Hater.
Talk about
I'm not hating. No,
transition.
Jasmine's story is fine, but the music video that was inside that movie threw me off.
Speechless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was bad.
Not because of singing, because it's a literal music video.
Transitions like
could be on MTV.
That's a perfect example of not so great transition. Toasty, I know you said you're well versed in the Disney universe. Would you say, have you seen some of these live action Disney films? Would you say
I've seen all of them.
Okay,
sometime by myself, sometime at work, but honestly, for the musicals, including this movie, when I'm watching a movie adaptation of like something that existed before, I'm expecting perfection in a way. If I like the original, I don't expect the new director to change things up. If you do understand that you have to change minor part of the movie, like y'all mentioned before, to make everything fit in the timeline and the time that they give you to produce the movie, but I like the original for a reason. That's what I'm going for when I see a movie adaptation. If I read a good book, that's what I'm expecting. So, for example, The Lion King, Aladdin, I love the 90s movie. When I watched live action movie, it was almost as if I was watching my favorite movies getting killed in the street. So I was Bruce Wayne. Lion King and Aladdin were my parents, and I saw them getting murdered by the director. That's what happened. I was like, I really hate the fact that, especially with this movie, like y'all say, they hire great actors, but if you don't know how to sing, why are you in this role? Will Smith, in my opinion, was total garbage. I would have rather hired some random dude from like in front of a train station in New York that plays his guitar every night to make minimum wage and have him play the genie instead of Will Smith. And we even mentioned it right here. The reason we grew to like Will Smith is because we used to Will Smith. Most of us grew up watching Will Smith in the 90s and that show that he had. I can't remember the name.
Fresh
Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
We all watched this show. We all watched all of his movies, the Bad Boys movies, the Wild Wild West movie, all of those things. We like Will Smith, so we give him a pass for that. But at the same time, I feel it's not acceptable. Stay in your lane, my man. You don't know how to sing. Why
Stay in your lane.
Ooh,
yeah.
Shots fired.
Hot take.
Yeah, because we all know it. There are amazing singers out there that don't have a chance to get those roles because those big actors with no singing talent that are tone deaf are trying to pick up those roles to make money. There's no passion.
Russell Crowe.
There we go.
Don't you dare.
He was fine. Come on, let's not lie to yourself. You need to rewatch that movie, obviously. But for me, music, it has to be 50% passion. So when you listen to the person sing, and for me, that was the same thing in The Heights. Some of them were great singers, but some of them I noticed there was no passion behind their words. So I got lost in the music. So for me, it has to be both. I'm expecting perfection. I'm not a great singer, but I have the right to judge you because I paid to watch a movie. So that's my take.
All right.
Pop off.
I like it.
That's okay. I like ending on that note. All right, listen. I think the lines have been drawn as far as who is a newcomer to this film. I myself, I'm a Lin fan. However, I purposely did not look up much on this film. Dr. J, can you say, did you come in blind?
I would say I came in blind. Yeah.
All right.
Like no background knowledge whatsoever.
All right.
Yeah.
I think you, myself, and maybe Toasty are the ones who probably came in the most blind to this film. So
zero knowledge. I only watched it because Dr. Chase mentioned it to me on Friday. He was like, "Yo, Grandmaster watched the movie. We're talking about Monday. Watched it." And I really had to watch it yesterday because I was like, God damn, I cannot procrastinate anymore. But
yeah. I mean, I told him to watch it. He had no idea what it was about.
I did not.
I mean, I know MF Casas tried to put me on as well as Apex. But without further ado, here we go. We know who here is prior fans. We know who the newcomers are. Well, I think we understand how familiar most of us are with the musical itself. And we talked about our expectations. Real quick, did anyone have any hesitations before we deep dive this movie now? Did anyone have any hesitations for all the actual fans who knew it prior? Was there like a role that we're talking in The Heights now specifically, you can get a little specific. Was there a character, a song that you were like, it better hit the mark? And if it didn't, save it for when we talk about the film. But was there any hesitation you had going in? I see DoctaReeka looking like she's ready.
I am ready.
All right.
Because I love Christopher Jackson and I love Karen Olivo. So Benny and Vanessa, I was peeping.
Okay.
I was concerned. I was familiar with, so I think I'd seen Corey Hawkins and stuff before. I had no idea that he could sing.
Me neither.
So surprise. And then the actress, I forget her name, who played Vanessa. I know she's on like a TV show.
Oh my gosh.
If I'm not mistaken.
I looked up her name earlier. Oh my gosh.
But those are my two, like, that I was specifically like, okay, these are two of my favorite characters, played by two actors who I very much respect and really loved in the original roles. So just a little something that I'm being cognizant of.
Okay. I have a question, DoctaReeka. Vanessa?
Yes.
Like Vanessa for sure? Okay, I actually didn't like Vanessa in the play at all, but my favorite characters were Benny and Nina, and I needed them to just play that, just below my expectations. So those were that's where I was looking at when I was looking at the musical, or the movie, I mean. I was looking for Benny and Nina to kind of kill it. There's a couple of songs that I absolutely love that I was hoping would be, would play in full in the movie, and they kind of didn't, but that's okay. But
Justice for Sunrise. I know we'll talk about it, but Justice for Sunrise.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a couple of songs that didn't completely make it, but that's okay. But Nina and Benny, their romance, their connection, that's what I needed.
Yes, I also agree on Nina and Benny. I'm not going to get into it yet because when we deep dive it, we'll get more. But definitely the Hesitation song, which I said needed to blow out the water because it is my favorite song, so I'm personal bias, was When You're Home. And when we get to that point, I'm gonna come in on that.
All right.
I think for me, like my expectation wasn't necessarily on any specifics in the movie, but I think it was just that, like, I don't know, I was like, damn, this better be really good, because like this is the first like big budgeted like Hispanic or Latinx like type of movie that was going to be put on screen. It's like the crazy rich Asians of Hispanic culture. Like we needed to see like some big flares. We needed to see some big numbers. And like my expectation was like this really needs to captivate the audience. This needs to be something that everybody can enjoy. And I think they did a good job.
I'm glad you touched up on that point about the representation. Some would even say, I like how you said the crazy rich Asians for Hispanic people. A lot of people said, oh, this is the Hispanic people's Black Panther. And I was like, oh God.
I heard that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Rose, that face. Okay. Listen, we're ready. And now again, don't be shy. Don't hold back. Let's talk this movie, okay? Let's open up with the overall thoughts. Save your rating for the end. But if you enjoyed it, I enjoyed the movie. I liked it a lot. There are certain things we will get into, but overall, I walked out. I've been playing the soundtrack for like the last 5 days. If you got me playing the soundtrack, you did a good job. Dr. Jace, go ahead. Where you stand at the conclusion of this movie?
Overall, like I would say I really enjoyed it. And I didn't really expect that coming out of it. I was half expecting like I was gonna like the movie and then just kind of move on from there. But I just having no background knowledge with the stage play and just musicals in general, I came out of there like singing the songs a lot. Like afterwards, I'll be walking down the hall to like my like the bathroom singing Piragua. I mean, I liked it. I like the musical numbers. They were solid. If you got me like singing the songs, like probably 5 words out of the song I remember, but if you got me going that far, you did your job.
I'm picking up on my Spanish a lot. I've been saying paciencia y fe all week.
What does that mean then?
Patience and faith. For example, my roommate Jaylene, she said, I need to go with you to the grocery store. You're not going to come back with the right stuff. I said, paciencia y fe. Come on. Like, I got this. I know how to read a grocery list.
There you go. Digress. Practical application. Like practical when you teach your students.
There you go. MF, since you wanted to chime in on my Spanish tutoring, what'd you walk away feeling after the conclusion of this film?
So I liked it. Would I say it's perfect? I don't think so, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But if I had to choose between the movie and watching the musical, or like the actual play, I would watch the actual play. In fact, I would rather play the soundtrack from the play than the actual movie. It's just, it was like the very first thing I watched. So to me, it's like, I'm judging it a lot based on my growth as a person, and also, you know, everything that I loved. It did make me feel just like the play, you know, proud to be who I am and proud of my journey, which is why I love the first time so much. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I would watch it again.
All right.
Actually, oh no, I'm sorry. Just real quick. That's another thing that I feel like a lot of movies cannot make me do is watch them again. This one, I can watch this a couple times. I already watched it twice, so yeah, I like it. But go on, Apex.
I've watched it twice also. So
Twice.
yes, but for me, this movie overall was good. I think it was good. It was refreshing for it to be something that was like produced, because, you know, not many people are going to pick up a musical, because I think it just in general, musicals are also really hard sells sometimes for certain people, because there is that, do I want to listen to all this music? And then you have like to come up with an album and soundtracks and all that stuff. So I feel like it's a little bit harder to do. So I appreciate that. And what it came with it. However, my overall thing is it was good, but I think there was a huge focus on trying to keep it current than staying true to the story itself. So as they navigated through the world of Washington Heights and with the actual musical and using the music, they put it into the lens of 2021 or 2020's perspective of what like our current issues are, which is awesome. It's super appreciated and something that makes it more relatable and even bigger. But again, that's me being biased because I know the background story of it. There is so much deeper story that could have been held to make it like that, like award-winning type of thing. But I think it just was focusing a lot more on the entertainment quality, more on keeping it with the social issues that we have now, more like just in general, just being current, I think was more of its focus. So good, but current.
All right, DoctaReeka.
Yeah, this was my Zinnia has things to say as well, I guess, because she's seen it. I watched it at home and I watched it in the theater.
Okay, good job.
So yeah, this is the first movie back for me in like over a year. And what a great film to just come back to the theater for. I think if you are comfortable going to the theater, audience, go and see it there. I think that's what it's made for, as far as like the production and seeing the musical numbers. But I agree with Apex. I know the background of the musical, and there's a little bit missing that really did deepen a lot of the experiences of some of the characters that I missed, while some updates I really resonated with. I think we can probably touch on that a little bit later, but a lot of what was added to Nina's storyline, I was like, ooh, that's me, like in terms of my experience with education and that isolation, community, all of that focus. So I think there were some updates that I really resonated with, and then some I really would have liked them to have kept to the original because of that depth and the nuance. And I feel like they were trying to make something that was enjoyable and joyful, that it lost some of the messiness of just like being human, which I think the stage production had. Like, it was joyful, but it was also difficult. Like, there were some topics that they touched on in the stage production that like people maybe shy away from discussing. And so I did feel like the movie did some of that in trying to be entertaining and trying to be all-encompassing of just experiences that people have now, and to leave people going home with a smile. But there are a couple things that I felt like could have been added that were in the original that really would have taken it, over the top. I really enjoyed it though. It's a really great experience to come back to the movies with.
All right, well said. Toasty, how you feel about overall?
Overall, in terms of the story, I liked it. I'm always telling Dr. Jace that people from the islands, they all have the same mentality. The only thing that's different is that they speak a different language from each other. So seeing the experience of those characters, even though I'm not Hispanic myself, it's practically the same experience I recognize that I grew up with. So it was really nice to see. Just the way the character acted, the interest in their home country, the way everyone, the culture practically that you see in the community. That's what I like, for example, South Florida, because you get to see that a lot where I live. So for me, it was a really good movie. It represented that community and just immigrant community really, really well. So in terms of that, minus the singing for some characters, it was, I mean, the story was really well made. I don't want to get into too much detail because we can talk about it later when we're talking about different scenes of the movie, but I liked it. It was a really fun experience. Just watching that movie, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, at the request of Darce, Rose, we're gonna have you go next. How are your overall thoughts looking?
My overall thoughts is I keep it simple. I enjoyed it. I think it's interesting for me because I had one foot in, one foot out, because I've seen the play before. I haven't seen the original ever, so I haven't seen the original cast do it. Didn't even get to see Corbin Bleu do it, but I got to see some talented local actors do it, and they did a phenomenal job. But it also helped me knew what the story was going in, so I already knew if stuff got trimmed. I noticed the stuff that got trimmed. I kind of noticed the stuff that kind of got adjusted, and it's kind of like y'all mentioned. It's that double-edged sword, because execution is key with these things, because we've seen adaptations, and it's called adaptations for a reason. Something's getting lost and something's getting changed up, right? But we see these adaptations, Lion King, for example, and they didn't execute. They didn't execute at all, right? That's in my opinion. But particularly with this film, I was entertained, and I think, as much as they trimmed off, they added and adjusted some things that I think really brought a different level and a different perspective to the film. As a film. So I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid movie, and I thought it was a good movie actually, and thought it was some great performances in there. It's some things that's missing that I'm not personally tied to, but I think would be beautiful to hear in songs and numbers and characters. It'd be beautiful to especially flesh them out, because I could have built, going to Toasty's point, I'm not personally Hispanic, but there's a lot of parallels, right? And so some people characters as well, and we'll jump into it later, but I know Benny's character kind of got trimmed a little bit as well, and so there's parallels that can be drawn, and Benny's the brother in there, so
Benny's our man.
Benny's our brother in there, so
yeah.
Good. Darce, take it away, buddy.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to go too deep into it, but I did want to go a little bit deeper. But just really quick, if we can all kind of go one by one, because we do have a lot of Hispanic heritage people and Latin heritage people. So if we can kind of go, just so that our viewers can listen and see where some of us are coming from. I'm personally half Cuban and half Puerto Rican. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'm full-blooded Puerto Rican.
I am Black and Puerto Rican.
I am Mexican. I was actually born in Mexico, so I'm an immigrant.
At first, I thought I was completely Cuban American, but then I did Ancestry.com and found out that I am more Portuguese and Spaniard than anything. So, give or take, but my family is Cuban American. So we're going to go off of that and not get into technicalities.
Anybody else? Any other islands out there?
Yeah, I'm Haitian.
Haitian? Okay.
I'm a quarter Haitian.
Quarter Haitian. All right.
I don't know what I am. I'm definitely Black though. I'm definitely Black.
Yeah, the other 3/4 is Black.
I haven't did my ancestry, but I'm Black culture all day, baby.
So we have a lot of representation here in this podcast, and that's pretty awesome, and that's something that we also see in the barrios in Washington Heights is, during the Carnival, everybody's raising their flags and all that stuff. And to me, I kind of got just a little, I liked it overall. I don't want to get too emotional in it, but there were a lot of things that resonated with me. Like Erica was saying, the Nina story of her leaving, going to college, I definitely resonated with it. And also with, Abuelita, when she came from Cuba, and so that had a huge impact, because I would hear the stories of my parents that came from Cuba and like how they would have to go through some of those struggles. So seeing that on film and getting kind of like being able to go on to the movies and see and say like, look, that person's like me, that person understands what we went through. That person understands the struggles of coming to America and being forced to learn the language and, having limited opportunities. So it was really awesome to see, and I can dive deeper into the points, and I can also dive into like the different generations and how they think about it too, because I took my parents for Father's Day to go see it, and they had a totally different view on it than I did. But I think it was very awesome to kind of see the just like the cultural aspect of all of it.
I think that's a great point, which we will definitely explore that when we touch upon the themes of the film. But I know this could be somewhat divisive, but let's go ahead and talk about the cast. And again, y'all can chime in whenever y'all want, not necessarily, follow a line, but, who do we enjoy? And for those who are familiar with, the Broadway production, who lived up to their role, who didn't sell you. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna open this up. My favorite character is definitely Abuelita Claudia. That's my favorite. She held it down from the moment she came on. What is it? The streets are her escuela. She's my favorite.
She originated the role.
She originated the role.
She was on Broadway.
She did. Yes,
oh wow,
did.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Is she one of the few or is she the only one?
Her and Lin, technically Christopher Jackson, he had a cameo.
Okay.
They are the only ones who made appearances from the original. Well, actually, no. A lot of the
they had a couple. They had a couple, but they were very, very background characters.
Yeah, they're very background. Yeah, Lin, Christopher, and Olga were the only ones who had like. Oh, there they
original.
are.
Okay.
There they are, right there. But Paciencia Ife. That's my favorite character. Loved her. Who didn't sell me? Vanessa. And I'm open the floodgate.
Damn.
Go
Okay.
ahead. No, I'm not a fan of Vanessa.
Pop off because
I'm not a fan. She's just a Debbie Downer the whole time.
Wait. The character Vanessa, you're not
the character. The character.
Oh,
of Vanessa.
okay.
The character.
Okay.
Not a fan.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Apex and I have kind of the same views because we've obviously talked about this way before the movie was even in production. But I'm not gonna speak for him. But Vanessa in the play, okay, I actually grew to be okay with the Vanessa in the movie because the Vanessa in the play is so much more of a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, she's definitely more of a Debbie Downer in the play.
Which I shouldn't compare. I should hold both characters accountable for their actions. But I would actually, after the movie, I was like, okay, Vanessa wasn't so bad, I guess. Because in the play, she was just. I think she was manipulating. I think she was not really true to her love for Usnavi. But anyways, I really like, if we're talking about casting wise, I really think, is it Anthony Ramos?
Anthony Ramos.
Yes,
yeah.
I think he did a fantastic job because he's a good actor. He's a good singer and he's a good dancer. And I really think he did a wonderful job. I really wish Nina's character would have been a little bit more showcased along with Benny. I think they cut off, when they were making cuts, they cut off a lot of their story, which is unfortunate because in the play, Benny and Nina and Vanessa and Usnavi, they have kind of the same importance.
Same
Yes, yeah. And I think we as young adults, I think we also just kind of really connect, like Darce and DoctaReeka was saying, to Nina because, she goes off to college, she feels out of place. She really wants to come back home, but also back home, it's a bunch of people that left their home. So it's just like a layer upon a layer. But I really think I have nothing wrong with Nina's actress or actor. I think she should have been showcased a little bit more in the movie. That's what I'm gonna say for now.
That's fair. Definitely reading up on it, I saw where they made the cut to our boy Benny. But yeah, it definitely looked like the character of Usnavi and Vanessa took more of a forefront over Benny and Nina.
So in the original play, it was like more like divided
leveled.
between the. It was leveled.
More level.
It was leveled off, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, did anyone else have some standout characters that they really enjoyed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put overalls because there's people who got like good in one area and good in another, and I'm sure they're gonna tear them up in a second. But overall, I feel in every aspect of the character, the main salon lady, she slayed.
Carla,
Yes. So not Carla. Carla's the DTI one.
Sorry, Daniela.
Daniela, she slayed for me.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
She was really good. She held her own in her character and did everything that needed to happen. I would also agree, Abuela Claudia slayed too. She was really good, as well as Anthony Ramos. Also, definitely in that regard. I think that when it comes to people who were maybe not so good, or rather just whatever, Kuka was whatever. The girl from Orange is the New Black. She was she when she was there, I was like, I'm happy you're here, but you're definitely here just as like, ooh, she's from Orange is the New Black. That's it.
That's the same vibe I get with that actress.
I was like,
Dasha
you were
Polanco, yeah.
awesome.
Yes.
I'm like, glad you're here. Welcome to the group. But I think she slayed in that regard. Mind you, they didn't write her in for a lot of parts, so there's that too. And then in Vanessa and Nina, Vanessa carried vocally. Let me tell you something. Vanessa's character is a very hard role to sing, and she did very well. She did that really good. Now, Vanessa, acting wise, she's supposed to come off, for lack of a word, she's supposed to come off as a bitch. But she was so sappy towards half of the movie, especially towards the second half when she finally goes on a date with him. That's where she was very sappy, and like her face was just super elongated. I was like, you need to like tone it down a little bit. Especially, oh my god, 96,000 also, when she just has that random song. Yeah. I was like, the director messed you up, or maybe it was you, I don't know, something happened. Nina vocally was on fire in the beginning, and Breathe was so good, but then Nina towards the end, like when it comes to When You're Home and the other songs, I feel like she kind of fell off vocally, where she wasn't as like powerful in it. But acting wise though, I feel like Nina, she did really well towards the most part in the songs. Very specific in the songs, she was acting very well. Like in When You're Home, when she was doing the facial expressions and like saying it, I was like, wow, I really get the lyrics more like in your acting, not in your vocals, but like in your acting. When she comes to her acting scenes with like her dad, I'm like, this is giving me a TV series episode, not like movie spectacular acting. But then again, easy for me to judge because I'm not an actor. So
to her defense, this was her first film role. This is her first time.
But I want to also say how much is it with Vanessa's character? Is it more on the tone or the direction that they wanted the character to go? Because now that I'm listening to y'all speak on it a little bit more, Apex made a great point. Like, what if she was directed to be more gloomy than like?
Oh, definitely. Than
sassy, and then so how much does that play? Is it even her fault that she was given that task? Because I don't think she did terrible. Like when we say people did bad, like I don't think anybody did terrible in my opinion. I think everybody held their own. I mean, the only character that had lines that I really didn't think much of was Sonny's boy.
Graffiti Pete.
Yeah, Graffiti Pete. Graffiti Pete. Yeah. Shout out, glad he had the opportunity. But he didn't do anything amazing to me. I was just like, I could get out there and say that line real quick. But let me not discredit that. So
that's a fair statement as far as directing goes. I mean, we can talk about direction. That was my other next point, and of course, anyone can still chime in on some standouts.
Go?
Yeah, go ahead, Toasty.
Thanks. I would just say for me, it was Nina's dad. I like his character.
Jimmy Smits.
Yeah, like I know I recognize him from something. I don't know what movie I recognize the man from, but he seemed familiar. But I like his role. I like the way he handled the entire movie. It felt like he was sincere to his role. Like, so for me, that was the biggest impact. The other characters, for me, it was Nina, but I'm horrible with faces. So every time she changed her haircut, I can't recognize her. So I remember I was watching it again, Dr. Chase. I was like, dude, who's that girl? And he was like, my man, it's supposed to be Nina. So
all you have to do is wait for her to say, let me hear my block.
Oh God.
Yes. Oh.
Then you know it's her.
No.
She kept changing her hairstyle, and I kept getting lost. I'm like, wait, is that a new girl? No. But for her character, in terms of the singing, I feel like she was really well. Like you guys mentioned, I think Apex, you mentioned that was her first role. She did a really good job with her role. So for that, I think it was excellent.
Yes, I agree with Nina. I think that the hairstyle thing was intentional though, because she came in with like the straight hair, like the Stanford girl. That she's like, you know, she wasn't trying to do that curly hair and embracing the Latin culture over there because she's like trying to stay low.
Symbolism, yeah.
With it, but then when she came back, she came full throttle Latina, like going there, and then she left even with her curly hair. So she's like came with like a newfound respect for it. So I definitely think that was a little bit more intentional. But also when you mentioned Graffiti Pete, you said that Sonny Boy. Shout out to Sonny also. Sonny slayed too. Even though he's like the ditzy kid and stuff, but that's exactly what a kid would have done. So like I think he did really, really good for his role as well, especially because they like kind of not martyr, that's not the word, but they used him to make him the current. Like,
he's a platform. He's a platform character.
They like sprung off of his character to make him the current and like utilize him to like drive home like everything that's like happening right now.
For sure.
I think he did a really, really good job, for sure, with his role and being able to keep up when you think that a younger actor is supposed to like kind of fall short to the other people. So
I feel like he's the only character from the original like play, I believe, that glowed up, that was better in the movie than in the play. That's my opinion, but I don't know. What do y'all think?
I agree.
Not familiar with the play as far as the glow up aspect. I don't know who like was given more, but definitely I see the platform jumping for him, and I can see how his character might have just been the ditzy cousin that whatever. So I like how they made that change right there. I like to say real quick, shout out to Corey Hawkins. I didn't know he could sing either, as Benny, and I definitely compared him to Christopher Jackson the whole time. And for those of you who don't know, Christopher Jackson originated the role of Benny, and if you've seen Hamilton, you know him as George Washington. I think he reminds me of a young Christopher Jackson. I think he held his own very nicely. So I'd like to give Corey Hawkins a shout out. So
yes, he did really good. I think that he made some different vocal choices though, with a lot of more of these rungs and hitting a little bit more of like a soulfulness aspect to it, just because Christopher Jackson belts like the crap out of everything.
Correct.
So definitely different, but yeah, definitely shout out to him. I think he actually was one of my standard like stable. He was like really good.
Yes. Maybe I don't know if I was all the way there with the chemistry with him and Nina, however. And again, we can get into what does it mean to be a first-time actor, but I don't know. I've never been on a big-time set such as that. But did anyone else have any standouts? All right, that's okay. That's okay because and we dabbled in it already as far as directing choices go. And I know there were some choices that were made as far as, for example, starting off in the Dominican Republic and him, Usnavi telling a story to the children. I think that was a really cool directing choice to kind of, we are the children, us newcomers who had no idea what the story was. And I mean, the whole time I was like, oh man, he made it to the Dominican Republic. Go Usnavi. Just to, like pull the rug from under you by the end of the film. But I think that's a good narrative choice as far as, directing goes. It's that introduction for anyone who is new to In the Heights as a whole. So I appreciate that they did that. But you know, how did everyone feel about like the depiction of the barrio as far as, you know, the shots, a lot of the shots, you know, like the depiction of the salon, them going to, you know, the pool setting, and just, you know, even in the opening number, a lot of the shots were just straight up in these apartments and seeing people, you know, going about their regular day. I feel that he was John Chu was definitely trying to highlight, you know, everyday life within the Heights. Piragua Man, the prime example, you know. I don't know if anyone wants to chime in on that.
I can go. I thought that it was really well made. It reminded me of Little Havana here in Miami. Like, that's what you see in this community. It's really close. You see the flags everywhere. You see when you walk into the salon, because I've been to multiple salons from every ethnicity, every country in the Caribbean down here when I go with my parents or with my mom specifically. And it looked exactly like that, you know? People talking, having fun, just the little gossiping on the side. So everything to me, like, it was really well made. I'm not sure if this is how it's supposed to be represented in New York specifically, because I'm not from that area. I've never been to that area, and I don't know much about the Washington Heights, to be fair. But if it is exactly like that, they made a good job doing it. So maybe somebody else who has more experience with the area might be able to chime in and give us more knowledge about how the area is supposed to look like. But in my personal opinion, it was nice. I loved it. The entire community being together, the culture, that's something you see when you have immigrants getting together in one community. It's like they're one big family in a way. And there's information sharing. Everybody's trying to help each other out. And there's always a matriarch around trying to help every kid on the block. So that I know is true. So, but from that, it was really well made. But again, if somebody else has more knowledge about the Washington Heights, please let me know so I can know if it was well made. Yeah.
I mean, also, I want to give a shout out to Little Havana too. That's where I grew up, mi gente. So, I mean, like, yeah, but I also lived a little bit in New York, and so when I walked through Washington Heights, it was very much like the scenes in the movies. You know, you have a lot of vibrant colors. You have a lot of people that were there, like hustling, like trying to get, you know, their money. New York itself is a totally different beast. You know, everybody has somewhere to go and has a big dream to fulfill, right? And that's the entirety of what this movie is about, is everyone has a dream. And you can't take one step without, you know, bumping into somebody else's dream. But the whole set and everything, I think that's like part of like the movie magic of it, is you get to go deeper into the sets and some of the direction scenes, like when Abuela was on the couch or on her bed and she was staring off at everybody having a great time, like during the blackout, like that to me was like very like emotionally captivating. And it's because of the direction of it, you know, it's because of like the scene of it. And even Abuela's Paciencia y Fe song, like that whole, like the subway, how everybody was dressed, like it was super captivating to see all of that. And I loved seeing like the people dancing in the streets, because that was kind of like, you know, like you get a lot of that. Like think of the Calle Ocho type of like celebrations in Miami. People are just dancing in the streets, having a good time, you know? And I think, was his name John Chu?
John Chu, yeah.
John director,
yeah. So John Chu did a great job of kind of getting that side of the barrios and like the togetherness, the culture of it. But I do want to bring in a perspective from someone from a different generation. My mom, when she saw it, she was kind of like over the fact that like the Hispanic representation is always kind of like the more of like the impoverished, right? And I told her like, you know, this takes place like in the barrios, like not everybody's gonna be super wealthy, but she wanted to see people more of the Hispanic culture be represented in like a different side of success, right? Of like, oh, like, you know, look how great they're doing. Like they worked hard for their dream. Now they're very successful. And she didn't get to see too much of that, like from the barrios part of it. And I kind of agree with her, but I also understand that this is a whole movie about like everyone who struggled that is trying to get out of that little struggle pit, you know? And so the way that it was portrayed was great. Would I have liked to see some other sides of it? Sure, but I think that wasn't the primary focus of the movie. The primary focus was making sure that people's dreams were being able to be executed, and the different challenges that may come their way.
That you are not powerless.
So can I bounce off that real quick and just make a quick comment? The great Tupac Shakur said, he thought he had it rough. He always had enough. I see that point too, but at the same time, I think the story is also focused on community and realizing, how big community is and how sustainable that can be. With people trying to leave the community, but actually ended up leaning on each other and kind of being a lot more stronger for it. So kind of like you said, GrandMasterHoop, and they did it. We're not powerless. We're not without power, powerful. Yada yada. But to that point, and this is a tough thing with like movies because this translates into different experiences and everything like that. Is that this is one movie. This is one movie. I think it did a great job of doing community. I can't, like Toasty said, I can't speak on what Washington Heights looks like and what's the makeup of Washington Heights. So from that aspect, I'm not qualified to say but so much on it. But what I did feel is a sense of community and a sense of culture from it. I don't know how accurate it's depicted, but I felt that from it, and it came from the performances, and it also came from, like you mentioned, the scenes too. I mean, and I think me and you talked about this one time, Darce, is the shots of them dancing as a reflection in the window while Usnavi's looking out the window. That is amazing. That's amazing. It's amazing cinematography.
That is a great shot right there.
That was really good.
So, yeah, I'm gonna pass the buck because I actually forgot what the central thing was. But I felt more community than just struggle. I knew the struggle was there. But that's the tricky thing. This gets to the point where it needs to just be more opportunity in general of film, so more diverse stuff can be presented. But I definitely understand all those perspectives too. So I get that.
Yeah, to kind of bounce off of that, as far as the shots were concerned, there were so many, like, I just want a picture of that specific shot. It's the window one, the one over the pool with the dancers. In Paciencia y Fe, it was when she was like in the tunnel with the colors. That there were some money shots.
Good. Money shots, good way, good.
Wonderful cinematography. What I can say is, so my family grew up on Washington Heights. Historically, it's actually Dominican. So this kind of representation of a variety of ethnicities. It's true and not true. So I think having Usnavi be the main character and being, Dominican certainly kind of touches on that. And my family is Puerto Rican and grew up on that specific block, but just keeping in mind that it is historically Dominican. So this idea, I think some of the criticisms that have come up is like, okay, yes, there are a variety of folks, but I think there was an intention in bringing in all these ethnicities without kind of recognizing that it is actually predominantly one specific ethnicity in real life that makes up the neighborhood. I think that comes kind of later as far as like storyline changes and things that we saw, but just keeping in mind that the movie, similar to what Rose the Crafter had just said, like, it is one movie. You have 2 hours and 23 minutes. You're only going to be able to tell so much in that time. And so I get why they would want to show a variety of experiences. I personally, of course, appreciate that. But I can also see where some other folks of different generations or different experiences would say, maybe that doesn't completely touch on what I've experienced. So there's only so much you can do. And again, I completely endorse what Rose said as far as like, we need more, because 2 hours and 23 minutes isn't enough to capture the variety of experiences that make up being Hispanic and make up being Latino. So it's like a step in the right direction, and we deserve to see more because there is more that's out there. And so I appreciated it, but certainly want to continue to see growth and development.
And I like that we're touching upon these things, and we're really gonna deep dive into it. So I'm glad we are scratching the surface here. I'm glad we got a good panel of people here. And since we're still on the topic of directing, y'all alluded to it a little bit, talking about all these great shots, let's just go ahead and talk about the musical numbers. I mean, it's a musical. So with that said, you really got to sell these musical shots and these musical sequences. And I want to know if there were any standouts for y'all. Like, what were your favorite? Piragua?
Easily number one.
Piragua.
The best one.
Okay.
That and 96,000. I really like 96,000.
Okay. I think you're going now somewhere better than Piragua.
What? I think it's good.
Piragua was good.
It was good. It was good.
It was good. 96,000 was Hispanic version of High School Musical 2 meets Step Up. For sure, with these water shots. For sure.
I mean, I think it's safe to say Abuela's number was one of the top ones too. Obviously, as far as direction and scenes and
number one
choreography,
number one,
definitely up there.
Yes, that was the most emotional one in my opinion.
Honestly,
sure. Because I wasn't expecting it. Because she was in the movie up until that point, but like that was the point where they really shifted to focus on her and telling her story, like her, coming from Cuba and growing up. So I was like, oh wow, am I crying? I am crying. Oh wow. So yeah, okay.
Dr. Jace.
And even from us, even from people who have seen the play, this is where they switch it, because she passed a lot sooner than we had expected her, because she did not pass that soon in the original, in the well, at least in the play that I saw. So it was an emotional pull already as a song, but that whole scene got everybody, I think, pretty much, because you couldn't build up to it.
Yeah, someone already mentioned it too. The fact that she's having that dream sequence as she's looking at the family that she made. She's talking about how she left her country and her mom passed away, and she didn't have anybody. They always expected to go back, but now that she's here, she's looking at these people. Oh my gosh, I get chills just thinking about it. I felt very at home. Like, I can't even describe it, but and I know it's not, I know many cultures can connect with this, but I was like, oh my gosh, I felt very Hispanic and very in touch with my culture, even with that one, because just the way that everything played out, all of the scenes in that specific song, it was just wonderful to see her love. Like you could just see it. It was great.
And then they followed up with Alabanza right after. So if you weren't crying there, you're gonna cry at the next song right after. Because man, but to switch it off on, because if we keep talking about this, I'm gonna get emotional. But one of my favorite songs was actually No Me Diga. Like the way they did that was fun, and they had like the little mannequins like turn their head like No Me Diga. Like I like the way that they did that. That was very catchy. It was one of my favorite musical interpretations.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I agree. I like the creativity that went into those. I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong for those who've seen the stage play, but there's a lot of innovativeness they have to put into something like that, because, I mean, look, if you're looking at my background, that's the background. That's the stage. I don't see how they could do some of the scenes, in that limited space. So you, as a director, you have to get creative. But go ahead, Dr. Rigo. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna echo all the praise for Paciencia y Fe. The switch to the costumes to show like historically accurate depictions, and then the lights. So in the light tubes, which were in the shape of the subway, like they went off. Okay, I watched it the first time at home, and I was like, okay, box of tissues. I'm just like, because similar to y'all, I was like, oh, okay, like Paciencia y Fe. And I was like, wait, she's dying now? Because she dies much later. Like the reveal in Paciencia y Fe is that she won the lottery in the show. So that's the big, like, because the lyric is like, what do I do with this winning ticket? And like she holds it up and people are like, ah! So instead we get the reveal that she's passing. And so I was a hot ass mess on the couch and in the theater. And shout out to my mask that soaked up my tears. So if y'all are going to the theater and you have to wear a mask, highly recommend if you're gonna cry. I think my other Carnaval also cried. I just get really emotional with the flag. Since I was home, I pulled out my flag. I was raising it. I think it's just similar to what MF was saying, just really feeling in touch with your heritage. And I'm already proud to be Puerto Rican, like always, 100%. But seeing it on screen and seeing their flag on screen and they waving it, and you got a group of people that clearly cared about depicting that in a way that you could feel the joy and the pride. I really loved that. So that was another scene that really got to me.
Also in Paciencia y Fe, like at the very end, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but there was like that one, like there's like a ramp and then there's stairs, right? She didn't take the easy way. She worked hard. Like she went up the stairs, you know? And that, to me, that one like really got me, because I'm like, man, like she didn't just like glide on up. She did that climb, you know? So Paciencia y Fe, yeah, 10 out of 10.
For me, I have to say, definitely was the song after the matriarch died. That one was emotional because I had a feeling she was gonna die when she was in the bed, just because I noticed she was breathing heavily and she seemed tired. I was like, something's gonna happen to this lady. I know she was gonna go to the hospital, but when you saw the entire community come out and sing for her when she died, yeah, that one got me because it showed how much she meant to that community. It really showed that everybody really appreciated. And you even noticed that when she died, there was a hole left in the community. They mentioned that there was no sound, no music. It's as if the only thing that made people happy had disappeared. So for me, I love that entire connection. So the entire scene, her character, she's definitely second to the Dutch for me. She did a really good job.
Apex, I feel you've been, I was about to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the opening number was really good. For the movie. The opening number was really good because the way that they brought it in, it was very like, okay, intro. In the Broadway play, it starts off with like Pete, the graffiti guy, like stealing from the bodega, and then like as things are just happening, like he's just introducing kind of the same thing that happened in the movie, right? But oh yes, Olga, yes, for sure. Best supporting actress, yes. I live for it. But definitely with the opening, they did really good job, especially with the dancing and stuff. I think that was really, really well done. I will say Vanessa and Nina's solos were good. They were okay in those regards. Vocally, they were really good vocally. Acting wise, they were good as well. But some songs that I was like about, When You're Home, like I said, I was gonna bring it up, and here it is. When You're Home is a bop. Like When You're Home, like the ending of it is so overwhelming that it just like drives you insane. And like they do this amazing harmony. They didn't do it in this. They were super on the acting. And I was like, you pop off, DoctaReeka, please.
DoctaReeka, you can unmute and you can express how you feel.
Look, I was at home ready, okay? I'm finna harmonize too, okay? And they didn't do it. And
I'm home. Are you kidding me?
No, Nanny. Look, it needed to be done. It was not done. Okay, yes, and they took Sunrise away from me, and they didn't do the harmony at the end. Like,
and they didn't do Everything I Know either. But it makes sense to not do Everything I Know. But they could have done that one too for Nina. But they cut a lot of Nina out, and Blackout too. So I was like, my second one too is that Blackout. Was a good song for the most part, but like the reason with Blackout, it just happens that they're just dancing. I was like, oh, this is really cute or whatever. But in the play, what you call it? Who is it? Someone gets in a fight. And they like break out into chaos. The club goes into chaos, and then it's like a big fight, and it blacks out in the middle. So it's like everybody's going crazy and all that stuff too. Also, vocally wise, they cut out a lot of really big parts of the songs. Makes sense because they reveal the lotto ticket later, because before that song Paciencia y Fe happens, and like, you know, it's like, okay, they have the lotto ticket, and he's like, oh, we need to protect the money because people are looting and going around and stuff too. So I think that maybe we're trying to be really sensitive to what that would have been like. But those are two songs that I feel were so big, and they were not to the caliber that I think that they should have been.
Can I just say, you know, upon research, because you told me Blackout was the closer for Act 1 in the play, yeah? correct me if I'm wrong, did it feel like they switched Blackout for Paciencia y Fe to be kind of the closer? Because if you go listen to Blackout again, the movie version, I'm sorry, well, the Broadway version has this huge crescendo that they build up to. They're like, in Washington Heights. Oh God, sorry.
Beautiful.
Sorry.
Nice. Are you going to audition?
I will audition for. Okay. I will, but they don't do that in the movie version. But Paciencia y Fe really crescendos on, when she's like, "Oh, all right, Mama, okay."
No, definitely. We mentioned it a little bit. They switched out some of the parts. So in the play, that right away when she does Paciencia y Fe, that she won the lotto, as DoctaReeka mentioned. She's like, what do I do with this winning ticket? She actually cashes in the ticket and she has this money. And during Blackout, when Usnavi comes back, to make sure that she's all right, they both find out, he finds out, she won the lotto. He's like freaking out. He's like, we got to keep this safe. We got to make sure that we make it through the blackout, blah, blah, blah. And she kind of tells him the plans for the money, which is a third for her, a third for Usnavi, a third for Benny. So she right away, she's not even selfish with the money. But they switch some parts. Very much so. And I can't say that I'm mad about it. I appreciate both versions. What I will say is that they also did not put Nina's mom's song in there because Nina's mom
is not
passed
even
away.
There. Not even there in the movie.
And her song is so good because she kind of, she's sassy. She has, she's rightfully mad because, the husband's acting some type of way and Nina's acting some type of way, but it really brings in the importance of family. And she says, whenever you have a problem, you bring it home and you talk it out and we work on it together because at the end of the day, we love you, and Nina was feeling lost. Nina was acting out. She, in the play, she failed out, she dropped out, and she didn't tell her family, also in the movie. But that song was really great. And I will emphasize when you're home because I cry every single time I hear it, and I know 5, 6, 7 people already said it, but it is so good. I'm really upset that it didn't make it. That was one of the things, as I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, that I was looking forward to Nina and Benny closing it out with that song. It was just so good, so good.
Also, Dr. Jace is going to be really upset because they trimmed Piagua.
They did.
It did. Okay, with my limited knowledge, it did seem like it got the short end of the stick compared to all the other songs. So I did notice. I'm like, man, this sounds like a banger. I bet it probably goes on a lot longer.
They run it a couple times. They run it a couple times throughout the play.
Transitions.
It gets the end credit scene though, so
it does. I think it's a smart decision, but for Dr. Jace, for it being his favorite number, I just wish they would have stuck to the original source material on that one. I know he really would appreciate it, but he never saw it anyway, so he appreciated this one. So I should have never told him that. Now he wants to go.
Now I want to go see it even more. I want to see the full version now.
If they revive it, or if they play it, or if anyone performs it, I'm going for. I hope for the revival.
I feel like they would with the the success of this movie, like how it's doing.
Very much. Very much. Let me ask real quick for those familiar with the Broadway show. Was the choreo was there choreo on the Broadway show? And if there or did they add is this new choreo? Or I know with the setting and whatnot that for the example 96,000 clearly it's not a pool on stage. So
there's not?
No, look at my background.
Oh, that's the entire set. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, you mentioned that
I didn't know
earlier.
if it was one of those fancy things where it rotates 90 degrees and it's a new set behind it.
No, there's the salon, there's the bodega, and there's Rosario's.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, but
Good
there's
job.
definitely dancing. I will say this again, with my overall take on this. Well, actually, I didn't say this, but I guess a little bit more. With the movie, the story led. The music kind of was an enhancer to the story, but the story is what led. With it being a Broadway musical, the story is told through the music, and so there's so much songs that they had to cut out, obviously. But with it being led with that, In the Heights is so much dancing. In fact, they're dancing for no reason on the stage. You're literally looking at them and you're just like, why are y'all dancing? But it also enhances the fact of, in the beginning, like just like in the movie, when he says that the streets were filled with music and filled with dancing. So they use that as a way to allude to certain things, like the type of dance style that they do, whether it's like flamenco or salsa or merengue or whatever, whatever it's gonna be, they use it more in the Broadway show than they do in the actual movie. But the dancing, it's still there. It is highlighted, but it is not like a full-blown thing. Like in the Heights, so you have to know how to dance. Like you got to be a dancer. I'll give you another example. Like Newsies is like not the same musical, but Newsies, you got to be a dancer, right? So it's the same kind of concept with In the Heights. You have to be able to dance because they do a lot of group numbers, like so many group numbers and so much dancing.
I see what you mean, that you got to know how to dance, because the club scene, I give them mad props for the salsa. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it salsa or merengue? Salsa? Merengue? Anyway,
it was salsa.
Salsa.
Yeah. Salsa, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, oh my goodness. I wanted to dance with Vanessa. That's the only time I liked her. Is that I wanted to dance.
Whoa! Wow! Gee.
What?
Okay.
I'm like the
Now
dude.
the truth comes out.
I'm like the guy who's like, Vanessa, you want to dance with me?
That scene they also messed up with, because Usnavi is supposed to be, Usnavi like lets her go, and Vanessa never consulted with him to let him go. Vanessa goes dancing with other guys because Usnavi is so like weird, and he's like doesn't know how to like talk to girls. They kind of highlighted it a little bit, but when she's like, "Are you sure?" Vanessa would never in the Broadway play. She's just like, "Are you sure you want me to dance with guys?" She's like, "You're weird. I'm gonna dance with the guys." And then Usnavi gets all, "Ooh, I'm gonna get drunk. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna show up," and then make her jealous by dancing with all the other girls. And then that's where they breaks up the fight and stuff. But that club scene was really good for the dance sequences, because it just highlighted a lot of different stuff. Again, felt like I was in the movie Step Up again, because it was just going off.
Better dancing than Step Up.
We're talking about, John Chu directed Step Up 2 and 3, right? Y'all are aware.
Yes.
All right. Just want to throw that in. Real quick, Darce has to go. And so we're going to let him give some parting words before he checks out. So go ahead, Darce.
Sorry that I'm going to leave, guys, but I did want to talk about one more thing, and that's just like the symbolism with everything was just super awesome. The thematic elements throughout the whole movie, how people can kind of like relate to it. Like I said, I related a lot to Abuelita, coming from a Cuban ancestry, and how I had family that, they came here legally, they did everything the right way. And when they came by, it was like a very big culture shock for them that, they had to learn English, they had to work when they were like 12 years old. Like they did a lot of that stuff. And so it was very emotional to see that sort of aspect, especially in Paciencia y Fe. But I also, I related a lot to Nina in the sense that like I personally like left my hometown. I left home to go to a different state up north. And, I kind of was treated very kind of similarly to Nina, where, I literally had my employer tell me that they hired me to spice up their team. So I felt like, a little bit similarly with Nina, how it was, you kind of feel like an outsider. You feel, a little bit more like, man, I miss my community. I miss my home. And so coming back home, you kind of do feel like a failure. Like, man, I couldn't make it out in the real world. But it was awesome to see how Nina was like, no, you know what? I know what my mission is. I know what I have to do. I have to help out the dreamers. And I do love that aspect as well, of like the dreamers, that you don't really understand that like sometimes these people that come here, they live their whole life here, and yet they still don't get some of the same privileges or the same benefits that some Americans take for granted. And so it was very eye-opening, even for myself, that I have to even check my own privilege. And so In the Heights was just such a fantastic, movie, musical. It checked me. It made me cry. It made me, miss my home and my culture. I love the representation of it. And I know that GrandMasterHoop is going to ask this at the end for everybody, but my rating of it so far is an A. I give it an A.
All right, so we're back to the A-B scale. All right.
A-B scale.
If we're going by numbers, I'll give it a 9.2.
Is that a 4.5 star out of 5?
4 3/4 star out of 5.
Sure, we'll take it. Sounds accurate. We'll just won't compare it with Rose the Crafter scale.
Sounds good.
I have no words.
All right, Darce, we'll let you go.
Peace out, mi gente. Adios.
Darce leads us into a great point, talking about the themes of this movie. As he said, Sonny was definitely representative of, the dreamers, and, that I really like that thematically, also because in a real world sense, that's real world. Nina, she did go through her struggles out west, but, she took it for granted as far as you got a guy like Sonny who can't go to college, without the loops he's got to go through. And so, that's why inevitably that led to Nina going back, as her father said, you got to keep fighting, even though there's all these people trying to put you down, because you got people like Sonny who may not get that opportunity. So I think that's one theme that really stuck out to me. And I love when you can bring it back to a real world sense, to just, make it relatable for people and drives home a message that the opportunities are not laid out for everybody, and we got to take what we can and keep fighting. And there's also these people who, set the groundwork for you to be successful. So I really like those themes. But were there themes that resonated to y'all? In the notes, I definitely listed a couple that y'all could probably speak upon, but were there any themes that stood out to y'all that really, you think the film really drove it home and did a good job?
I think the word you just said is home.
Home. Okay.
Just
I was
this
like, what did I say?
idea that, just this idea that home is not really a place, it's a community, it's a people, it's kind of what you make of it. I think, of course, the representation of the movie is that all of these people came together and really didn't have any blood affiliation, but they made a home together, a community. And you find that in a variety of different historically marginalized communities. LGBTQ plus folks often create a home together, and Black folks. And so I've seen all of these experiences because I inhabit all of these identities of just creating your own home. And I really appreciated that, watching that play out. You have folks of all these different experiences coming together to support each other and try to create a community, because we do want to see each other succeed in different ways and live out our dreams. So that was something I really appreciated as the running theme.
I would say, I guess not from this is not experience I had personally, but I would always hear this story growing up, from my my grandmother and my own mother, just moving to the United States, because originally they were born in Puerto Rico. And at least with my mom, I believe she moved to Philadelphia when she was I think 4 or 5 years old. It was to a point where her only language was Spanish. That was her first language. So when she made that transition over to America, I guess kind of like that Paciencia y Fe song, where Abuela Claudia, she was talking about, moving to the States and having to learn another language and trying to adapt to the culture that she was, coming into. And it was all new for her. And in a way, she didn't really adapt completely. I guess seeing that scene, I was just reminded of those stories that my grandma and my mom would always tell me about, the struggles of coming to the United States and learning that language and learning that culture and adapting, and in a way kind of being ostracized from the community, just in general. You're gonna have this no matter where you move into, but I guess just people judging you for your lack of speaking a certain language or for the color of your skin. At least when she moved into, I forgot which side of Philadelphia she moved to, but basically she had to experience that. And I just thought listening to that song, I just resonated with that theme because I just felt like, oh wow, you know, I know family that went through that, you know, and it was touching. It was touching. I do understand why you like that song, GrandMasterHoop. Now that we're talking about it more, I understand. I understand.
Like you like to say, Dr. Jace, there's a lot of layers there.
Like an onion. Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Onion. Like an onion. Yes. So.
I agree with all of y'all. I see all of those themes. One theme that stuck out to me watching the movie is the pressure that you have. So you build this home and you have this family, the pressure that you have to kind of, you know, exceed those expectations that are set upon yourself. You know, you see it a lot with Nina, and you also see it with Abuela Claudia, like because she, you know, she always wanted to go back. That was her and her mom's plan, to make it big and go back and have enough money to survive. And so she, in the play, they talk about it a little bit more, but she kind of started that dream of Usnavi, because in the play, I'm pretty sure Usnavi's dad didn't own a bar. They just made it to America and just stayed here. But in the movie, he had something to go back to, right? But at the end of the day, it was also Abuela Claudia's dream. You know, it was also kind of his dream, but he was influenced by it and kind of, I want to say, maybe pressured for it. And it's something that I struggle too, you know, the pressures that, you know, your family has of you, do a certain career, or even, you know, just the community, earn a certain amount of money, act a certain way. And I think a lot of them, specifically Usnavi and Nina, they kind of found their own way. And I will give props to Vanessa's character and even Benny's character. They both knew what they wanted to do, and they were not really, you know, held back by it. Vanessa wanted to be a fashion designer, and she talked about it in her song, in her solo. She said, you know, I'm not even bothered by these distractions, by this background noise, because I know what I want to do. So that's a thing that stuck out to me watching the movie, and, you know, being a little more grown from watching the play to, you know, experiencing it as a movie. It's that pressure that you have, and kind of setting your own history apart from that of your families.
I want to just bounce off of what you just said, MF, and I wrote it down here because she mentions it in the song Paciencia y Fe, inheriting the dreams. You know, she inherited her mother's dream, and then that's why at the end of the song, she's like, you know, did I do okay? You know, and she's looking at, you know, like her family, yes, everybody that she took care of, and she's asking, you know, did I did a good job? And she's like, yeah, I did do a good job, even though I didn't necessarily make it back, but look at what I have to show for it.
And I think that's why that song is so emotional, other than the fact that she's dying and she's looking at her loved ones. But, you know, she's questioning her whole life. Like, you know, did I do enough to your expectations? And it was not until the end of her life that she said, okay, yes, I did, because I loved all these people. I watched all these people grow. I helped them grow. That was my purpose in life, you know? So I'm glad, obviously, that Usnavi and Nina were able to find that a little bit earlier than Abuela, kind of their purpose and what they wanted to do and how they wanted to achieve it.
Yeah, I want to add on to that what I noticed is, since we're talking about community, and dreams and figuring out your dreams, is a couple things that, as much as community is within and the stuff that they already had, it's also motivation for reaching your dreams outside of that. And so what we saw was a little bit of both, because Nina was coming back to leave from going out somewhere to figure something out. So she actually came back to the community. And even though she was ashamed to be back in the community, she kind of came back to be safe and kind of feel protected in that sense because of what she's seen outside of that. But by the end, she went back outside with more motivation, more purpose to accomplish what she wanted to accomplish. So as much as we saw people realizing that there's a lot to gain from being within your community. We also got to see that there is a lot to contribute for going out and having purpose of doing things to inspire your community too. And so I think that's something that gets overlooked in it because it's so centered on the culture and the community of In the Heights. It's literally called In the Heights. And something that we've all talked about and thankful for Darce mentioning his experience. We've all probably felt that experience of being an outsider in some sense and wanting a sense of community. But also having that motivation that the community can come and your dreams can come in your community. Usnavi building the shop, Vanessa having, clothing and stuff and creating within the community. But you can also go out of the community and still contribute to the community. Because just as much weight as Nina had from everybody wanting her to succeed, that was probably some jealousy in there that they probably skimmed over, but a lot of love and a lot of inspiration too. And I think we feel a lot of that weight sometimes, especially if we go off to college somewhere or anything. We feel a lot of that weight, and it's a tough weight to carry, but it can also shape your purpose and be a very powerful tool. So.
For me, I definitely have to say Nina and the Abuela story were the team that I like. With the Abuela, you notice that she left her home behind. And that's, I'm sure for most of y'all who have parents that are immigrants, which seems to be most people here, for a lot of them, the hope was always to go back home. Coming here was temporarily. Might have been because there was issues back home, or maybe they just wanted to come here for finances. But the goal was always to go back home. So to see, for me, my parents was the same thing. They always told me, yeah, coming here was temporarily. We're going back home in a couple of years. So to see the fact that for me, I've been here 15 years, I'm still here, my parents are still here, it's just that it's touching to see because that's a feeling you see a lot of immigrants. And for Nina, you notice that she was pressure. For me, it's not that she was ashamed to be back because she failed school. It was more like she was ashamed that she let her community down. She was supposed to be that one girl from a community that went out and made it into the world outside of that bubble that they have. And the fact that she felt she was not up to standard is something a lot of immigrants feel, because you feel that your parents sacrificed a lot for you. And for those of us who are immigrants, your parents left their home, moved to a new country, new language. They had to restart all over again. Your parents could have a doctorate back in your home country and you moved to the state, and that doctorate is the equivalent of a high school degree here. So they had to start all over. So you feel that pressure to do better because you feel that you owe them. And you saw with Nina, she felt that she couldn't fail because her dad was selling his business to send her to school, and she realized she couldn't make it. Now it made it feel worse because she's like, if I let him down, I'm letting myself down, I'm letting everybody down, and I'm ashamed of that. So I like this scene because it resonated a lot, and I feel anybody, and even though it is a Hispanic movie, anybody that is immigrant or has family that are immigrants, you see those links, and it's really touching. And yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. Gosh, everyone's like hit everything. I don't know what else to say.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I would say Sueñitos is definitely, like, to me, the biggest thing when in the movie adaptation as opposed to with the musical, like the actual Broadway musical with it. Broadway musical focuses a lot on the economical class system, like, of it, the economics of it, because Nina, she like worked 2 jobs and she like ends up like dropping out of Stanford because she can't like afford the tuition and stuff like that. And even the lottery ticket was $96,000. Not saying $96,000 isn't a lot now, but if you're tuning in for now, you think it's like millions, right? So 96,000 is like, great, it's awesome, it's gonna help out a lot of people, but it's not like huge amounts of money. The big themes, though, I feel, is just the dreams and the fact that the colliding factors of being a Hispanic American and somebody who is Hispanic from a different, or like someone from a different country coming to here, and just the power, like how much struggle it is that we as Hispanic Americans think we have it hard. Like, you know, we're like, oh my gosh, we're so like, you know, Nina's like, oh, they searched me, you know, they I don't feel welcomed. And those are super valid points. Like, they're definitely big. But I think that, but she's just like, yeah, you don't know what it's like because you had a community here and you had it all easy and all this stuff. And it's really not the case with that, because they had to work hard to make that community happen. But in turn, also, because like you kind of feel that kind of sense of privilege of being like an American, Hispanic American, being like, oh, you know, like I've always had it good. I never know what it's like to have your struggle kind of situation. The parent side, they're like, I built all of this stuff to you, so I wasn't able to get my dream, so now you have to go to college and you have to inherit my dream because I'm doing everything I have to do for you. I think the prime example in the movie where this comes to play is when Nina confronts her dad and says, hey, I'm going to go back to college. I know how much you've been putting on for me and stuff like that too. However, she says she's doing it on her own terms because she doesn't want any undocumented. She wants to fight for undocumented people here. You know what I'm saying? And he says, like, you did it better than my mother, than what your mother would be so proud of you because you did it better than what I would even thought of. You know, his whole thing was just go to college. I don't care what you do, just go to college. But she's making her own dream of it. So it's kind of like those two collisions of those worlds happening. And I feel like that is a huge theme in the entire movie, is just like a bunch of different worlds colliding and people having their different dreams and how they kind of just influence each other. You know, Benny influencing Nina, the Vanessa, she got influenced by the salon people because she worked at the salon, right? And then they're going out, so now Vanessa's like, I gotta go too because I'm not gonna have a job. No one talks about that. Vanessa also was gonna lose her job probably because she wanted her own thing, or she'd have to go all the way up to wherever, you know, to work there. But there's just a lot of pressures that happen with the different communities and being such a melting pot, especially in New York City, you know, and then the family aspect of it, that I feel that this movie thematically was more socially geared as opposed to the economics in the Broadway. Broadway was a lot more like money. It was a lot more like getting out of here, and what that 96,000 could change your life. Like that money could really do it, and they do it in the movie, but I feel like it's not as big.
I think that's a fair point as far as highlighting the social aspects of it, and I'll close this topic off with, just because I was told Jaylene wanted me to mention this, so I'm going to mention it. And I relate it to just pride overall, pride for your community, pride for your heritage. But a lot of the characters were dealing with like their own pride. And I like to highlight the Vanessa, for example. You know, Vanessa, she was very proud of her drive to, you know, move downtown to be a fashion designer. But when it came down to, you know, she couldn't get a good credit check, you know, she didn't want to ask for any help. She was very prideful and asking for help, and it took Usnavi going to Daniela to be like, hey, can you be her guarantor on this? And specifically, Jaylene wanted me to talk about this, and y'all can attest or contest this. She said within the Hispanic community, oftentimes you try to do things for yourself and not try to ask for help. For example, you know, Kevin also selling, you know, the Rosarios, you know, as far as, you know, he's trying to make it work for Nina. And I mean, I feel in that situation, he probably could have, you know, I don't know, done something. I don't know. But like just the fact of asking for help is a big step for people within the Hispanic community. And correct me if I'm wrong. Would anyone like to attest?
No, definitely. I think even I mentioned this to some of you in that scene where they're in the restaurant and she kind of brings up some of her issues with college, and she brings up the fact that tuition wasn't paid or it was late or something like that. He kind of throws in the money to the table and he said, you know, money's not a problem. Like what, like kind of like in a defensive way, because he's like, how dare you, be worried about money? I got money. Like here it is on the table.
He's like, I'm the parent.
Yes, kind of like that. And obviously you could tell that he is better off in the neighborhood than a lot of people. So it could also be just for show, which is a lot of immigrants also, struggle with that prideful, especially in the financial way, in the financial side, not asking for help and not admitting when
you need help.
You need help. Yeah, definitely see that.
They also mentioned it too. It's the big thing with Hispanic culture. Also, just his dignity too. It's like it feels like a jab at your dignity because your pride is everything. It's just like you're prideful about your flag. You're prideful about your things. I'll give a prime example. Abuelita, she says, what did her mother do? She'd be washing everything, all this stuff too. So what she got the red velvet gloves because it's to show them their dignity if they're still there, and not show her hands being as weakness, like a sign of weakness and asking for help. So I completely feel that is definitely valid about like being prideful and not asking for help. I know even myself, I grow up that way. I still have that struggle, and I really don't ask for help either. If I kind of do it because it's something about getting it done for yourself or just feeling like you're burdening someone else is not necessarily the case of what you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Especially where you're at in an age group and where you are like within, I guess, like the position of power in the system. Like if you're a man, you got to do certain ways, or like the roles. Like I'll say this, Hispanic people, I feel, in my opinion, huge on roles, like gender roles specifically, like super traditional on that. Women got to do this, men got to do this. If you're the man in the house, you do this. Once you get to a certain age, you got to do that. Like for me, I had to, like when I got 15, they're like, you need to get your license, you do it, you need to get a job. And I got a job. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had to start working. I had to start doing this. I have little brothers, you got to be taking care of them. You need to be doing it. You need to be doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that is super, like what Lin said, it was absolutely correct. We are super prideful people. And we don't want to ask for help, and that's probably, it could be a downfall why all these people are like chasing for their dreams and they feel so alone. And it's like, you can get so far being alone, but it's probably better when you go as a community and get that family help, which they highlight in the movie, with Usnavi getting Daniela. If she just asked Daniela, this would have been a whole different thing.
Cool. I'm glad y'all were able to dissect that further and actually give some, more background on that. So I appreciate y'all. With that said, this is our closing argument, our closing debate. I think we broke down the movie pretty nicely. Real quick. Go ahead and just give your score before we enter this next debate. Do whatever scale you want. We're not going to sit here and compare scales. Just do it real quick. I'm going to go first, and I'm just going to go around on my screen. So I'm going to go real quick. I definitely give the movie like a B+. Love the songs, musical numbers, direction, B+. Solid film. Really solid film. Dr. Jace.
Out of 10.
You do your own scale.
No, that is my scale. If you would let me finish.
Sorry.
But no, I would say, I really like the movie. I really liked it. And with no background knowledge whatsoever on musicals or how this was done in theater, basically, I would give it 9.5 out of 10. I really, really like the movie. I like the songs. I like the characters. And it had an uphill battle for me because I'm not into musicals, and I was just really surprised at how much I walked out of it really enjoying the movie. So that's my rating, 9.5 out of 10.
All right, Apex, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a 9. And the reason I'm gonna give it a 9 is because I can sit there and watch it over and over and over again. And I feel like when you get something like that from a musical, like, that means it's like an A. It did what it needed to get done. It may not be like spectacular 10+, but yeah, I definitely gonna give it a 9.
They cut Piragua, so it's not gonna get the full 10 from me.
All right.
You're right. Absolutely.
DoctaReeka, go ahead.
I'm gonna go by Letterboxd their rating system because I rated it on there. I think I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5. That's where I was.
All right. Toasty.
I didn't see any Disney logo in the opening, so for me, in terms of musical, I have to give it a 7.5 to 8. I'm not hating. Well, that's a lot. I'm hating. It's an 8. I don't like musicals. I like the story, and that's what impacted me the most about it. If it was take away the music, if it was just a simple story without music, I would have loved it either way. The music was just an extra bonus for a certain scene, but overall, it was a pretty decent movie. Would I watch it again, like randomly turn on the TV and watch it? No, but if it was on, I would watch it. Let's just go with that.
Fair enough. MF Casas.
I would give it an 8.8. I would have given it a 9.2 if When You're Home would have been complete. But I like it. I can watch it over and over again in the background, or and it was the details that brought it home for me. Like the just little Hispanic details that are just so close to home that I'm just like, they definitely, did their thing. So
would you say the small details that remind you that we're here?
Yes.
Okay. That's Abuelita Claudia. If anyone
yes, but the napkins, that's specifically because my grandma used to sew like that, and she has napkins like that. That was one of the details that was 10 out of 10 for me. I was like, yes, you're speaking the Hispanic language. Yes.
All right. I just had to quote that and throw it out there.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
The napkins, I'm telling you.
Yep. All right, Rose the Craft, to close us out on rating.
8.5. 8.5. I enjoyed it. I don't want to get too high on it because I've only seen it once, and I kind of seen half of it when somebody else was playing it, and I wanted to watch the first act basically, which showed that I did enjoy the numbers. I think some of the stories, we do lose some things with adaptation, and I think there's some big rooms of improvement in different areas, as far as the writer's room and things like that. But I think it's a great adaptation, and I think it's setting a better blueprint for what adaptations could be. Take that and actually grow a lot more with it. So one of the more entertaining musicals that I've seen in the past decade for me. So 8.5.
All right. Okay. All right. From this point on, we're now going to talk about the controversy that has followed this film. I think it's been universally praised by critics and fans alike. However, this cannot go without mention. And this has been brought to attention by a lot of representatives of Washington Heights, current day residents, and just, I guess, people who have either been there, lived there, grown up there, or just in general. But there is a controversy about the casting of non-Black or dark-skinned Latinos in favor of the white or the white passing or light-skinned Afro-Latinos. So basically, they're calling out the film, and the people, in the credits, like the casting directors, Lin himself, about how main roles were not portrayed by dark-skinned Afro-Latinos. And I think this actually speaks to a bigger problem in Hollywood in itself. But I would like to hear y'all's thoughts on it, as far as, do we find this problematic? What does it mean as far as the bare minimum of representation? Where do we stand? Everything like that. There's even been some apologies that have been thrown out, and there's even been some other people saying some controversial things about this. Let me just open the floodgate by saying Rita Moreno, legendary Puerto Rican actress, best known for West Side Story as was that Anita? Not what's her name? What's her name in West Side Story? Someone help me.
Maria?
No, not Maria.
No, she didn't play Maria.
Bernardo's cousin. Bernardo's sister. Gosh, I want to say Anita. It's okay.
We'll find out.
I can't remember.
Researching.
It's fine. Yeah, someone look it up. That's okay. She came out and said on Stephen Colbert, and she brought this to Stephen Colbert's attention. This wasn't even a question for her. She basically said, for those complaining about the film, she in a nutshell, she basically said, y'all need to be quiet. Like, wait for your time.
It is Anita, by the way.
Anita, thank you. She basically said,
wait, was it Rita Moreno though that played her?
Rita Moreno, yes.
She played Valentina.
No, Valentina. Oh, in the film.
Ariana DeBose was Anita.
Wait, all right, we have to fact check that later.
Up the new movie.
Oh, the new movie.
Yeah, I'm talking about the original.
I just see it here,
You're
2021.
Shrek, man. Come on.
Sorry, I'm leaving now. Just kidding.
It's okay. Either way, she came out. I think I find this probably the most dismissive thing I've heard on the topic. But yeah, she basically said to all the Afro-Latinos complaining about the misrepresentation of, In the Heights being predominantly Dominican, but there's hardly any Afro-Latinos in the main roles. She said, y'all need to be quiet. Y'all need to wait for your time. Y'all need to live in this moment and celebrate this film. And y'all don't need to really be complaining. She was basically saying, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, they come in all colors. Why can't we just celebrate the country in itself versus why y'all complaining about which color is being mainstream and whatnot? So there's the floodgate. I want to know y'all's thoughts on it. And actually, DoctaReeka, I want you to go ahead and open because you said your mother grew up there in Washington Heights?
My grandmother and that specific lineage. My mom would be there during the summers, but I have a lot of thoughts. I will try to condense them. I think, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier. Yes, let me start with multiple things can be true at the same time. Yes, there are only 2 hours and 23 minutes, and there's only so much that you can fit into a story. And you could really enjoy and be prideful in the product that was produced and feel, affiliation with the stories told. And you can critique it. Like, all of those things can happen at the same time, and all of that is valid. So I think a lot of what has been discussed is like, this is our Latino product. We need to completely, fully be on board. But you can support, I gave my money, and I could say that my siblings in the Latino community that are dark skinned weren't represented. Because I did see myself, and I am Afro-Latino, but I saw me, but I know that some of my cousins and my family members and other folks that, I have community with did not see themselves. And so there's space for that critique and that joy and that, that praise. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is the studios. This is a structural this is an issue beyond this one movie, is that these studios need to be putting up the money to support more stories, because unfortunately, where the critique also comes is that they've lumped us all together, because Latino being Hispanic, one, those are two different things. And then two, there's a variety of cultures in that. And so you're lumping, Mexicans with Cubans, with Colombians, with, people from Puerto Rico. And while there's similarities, there are also differences. And that's okay to celebrate all of those differences. And so, I think my biggest thing is allowing the space for all of these things to be true at once, because that's the reality of life, while also pressuring production companies and casting directors and folks with power to actually put up the opportunities to allow more stories to be told so that we have a diverse range, because In the Heights should not be the only one. This should be one of many. And so that's my biggest thing, is you can't just rest all of your hope on one movie to take into account everybody's experience. Y'all should be putting up the money to make sure that more creatives are allowed the platform to show their experience, to show their creativity, to show how things are so diverse, because look at just us on this call right now, on this podcast. We have a variety of experiences and we can all relate, but they're still going to be different and nuanced. And so I think that's there's room for the conversation, room for the critique and the praise, and these production companies need to do better.
I just want to, yes. Literally where my brain's been at ever since, this first came up and came across my mind too. It's the problem. I'm not gonna say the problem is it's so many layers to it, but I really want to start with kind of something you touched on, and I can only speak for us being in America and American media, right? It's a systemic type of oppression, type of standard of what looks presentable, of who looks presentable, that's been throughout Hollywood, that's been throughout these production companies, with African Americans as well, and that at least in America, and I know it's different in different cultures too, but I'm specifically speaking on experience in media in America, where there is a sense of colorism too, and that's what we're seeing here. For example, the tough thing is that this is a big systemic thing. So you hit the nail on the head. It needs to be multiple installments of movies and writers in the rooms and everything like that, because you're only going to get a limited amount of perspective anyway. You can't bring one person in and they're going to cover and check every box. And if they try to, it's going to become even more ingenuine. So you have to have more creatives that span, more diverse creatives that span different representation in the area. They have to have opportunities and a sense of equity in that. And if that wasn't already a problem, then this wouldn't come up as much, right? It stems from the fact that for years, decades, centuries, if we want to, even before media, is that, there's a perception of who is presentable and who is, okay, now that we're letting you represent, it seems profitable, it seems good right now to bring it out, seems like a market, there's a market for you, but it just needs to be kind of tweaked this way, and it happens subconsciously, it happens blatantly, and that's the biggest issue there. And my thing is that, so I agree with you, you can't harbor on one movie to check all boxes. It needs to be installment. Creatives need to be supported. And it's I don't know everybody that's in the room, but I know, Lin did the original play, but also it's his limited perspective of what Washington Heights is. And that's another thing we got to acknowledge, is that it's just his limited perspective. And I say that, I say that as in, I expect him to not be spot on with some things, even though some people feel he should. So I think everything that's said is valid. I think it's valid to have that feeling. And I think it's also valid to say I've enjoyed this piece of work, but there is a room of improvement. And so, whether, I know Lin issued a statement back, saying that he would try to be more inclusive in the future. Okay, hold him accountable for that, right? So yeah, you gave him his money and you spoke about how you feel. Okay, so hold it accountable. But also, on our end, support where you can. And so these companies need to bring in more people to do stuff, but we can continue to push the narrative. That's the tricky thing about this day and age with social media, is that anybody can jump online and say anything, right? But who's gonna back it up? Who's gonna actually show it through action, right? So I think it was a great movie, and it's unfortunate that it missed some marks in that end. But hold them accountable, hold them accountable. Say, you're not going to give us an In the Heights 2 that looks exactly like In the Heights 1. We're not going to support that. We're not going to support that kind of thing, and I can go a million ways with it, but it speaks to a systemic issue that's prevalent in our country, right? Just in general, and has bled into our media. And so hold people accountable. But at the same time, do appreciate some type of progress and growth. You don't have to be satisfied, but you can celebrate progress. You can celebrate small wins and stuff. And so I think it was a celebration. And I can only speak from my perspective in that, right? Because I'm not from In the Heights, and I'm non-Hispanic to my knowledge as well too. I'm Latino to my knowledge as well too. I mean, you never know. I don't know my roots, but that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, Oh no, go ahead. No, you got it. Go.
You sure? Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna touch on Rita and her. It's kind of it's easy to get lost in the lights and get lost in the sauce and be really excited for this big hit Hispanic Latino movie. It's easy to do so. And I am not knocking every, the hate that she got when she was, starting in her career and the discrimination that she got. But she does have a certain privilege that other Latinos do not have, you know what I'm saying? So it's easy to say, you know what, everybody just be quiet and be okay with this, because this is better than nothing, and it's kind of a very, I don't want to say close-minded, but it's like, this is enough, okay? And like you said, GrandMasterHoop, kind of wait your turn. It's easy to say that, I think, and in some occasions, I find myself doing it too, because my skin color might be represented or my specific ethnicity might be represented, but it takes a little bit of time to take kind of like a big picture look and be like, you could have done better. I think in the climate that we're in right now, I find it kind of I don't want to use the word silly, but a big mistake for you to not cast, not to paint the mosaic that Lin Manuel said he wanted to paint. I kind of find it hard to believe. So I don't know what kind of decision making there was. I also find it kind of disrespectful for John M. Chu. He came back to in with the criticism, and he said, we casted the best roles that were presented, or the best, actors that were presented for us. And it's kind of saying, well, this is the best of the best. And it's not, there's so many talented people around the world. And it just speaks to, like Rosa Crafter and many of you said, the layers of this, system, because there's a lot of people that didn't make it into the casting room or did not even know that this was an open call audition. I didn't know that, actually. I was reading on it. It was open call because they wanted to bring in new and fresh actors, and it's like, okay, so you did that, you did great with that, but at the same time, a lot of people must have not gotten the the flyer or the advertisement for it, or you must not have gone to the neighborhoods that you are trying to portray, so you're benefiting off of this neighborhood, and yes, it talks about Hispanic and Latinidad as a whole, but if you're profiting off of this neighborhood, might as well go get that perspective, go get that, go get those people, because again, there's a lot of talented people in the world. I love Usnavi, and I grew to love every actor in this movie, but I would not be mad if somebody else was playing it. That's kind of my take on that. In a very short amount of time, I'm sure we could all go off on this topic.
The key you said was presented.
Yeah.
I think that's the key that stuck out to me, was presented. So when it was open and who came into the room presented. Yes. And that's a equity issue.
Yes.
And also, that's a lack of presentation of resources. And just because somebody doesn't open, and I'm not speaking, I don't have no clue about what goes on behind the scene, right? But just because something isn't open call, then how, like you kind of hinted on, how easily accessible is that to people to see? And how truly open is it if it's open, but you're only showing it to a limited amount of people? So
I would have loved to be in this movie.
Can I just also say, there were not a lot of different body shapes portrayed either, I think. As a curvy woman myself, the only person that I saw was Dasha, and she was kind of like a silly character, like the sassy, like whatever character, very, I didn't see a lot of body shapes. The only curly haired woman was Nina after she washed her hair, which was a great symbol, but there was also work on that aspect, people with disabilities. There's also a lot of different, there's Asian Latinos that were not portrayed as well. So, you could go on and on and on.
And you mean everybody or main cast?
Everybody.
Okay.
I did want to point out earlier that, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but on the dream sequences, for example, when they're in the salon and when Abuelita's dream sequence, you see a lot of color, actually, like different colors, but you don't see it in the main cast. So I was like, it's kind of, that stood out to me in the movie theater. I was like, the main cast looks like this, but when you're going into these dance sequences, it's a little bit more a mix of characters. So
that was a big complaint, was that they're like, oh, Afro-Latinos and whoever else, y'all use this for the background dancers.
Right. Yes.
Yes. But we don't take the forefront.
Yes.
So I know that was a big criticism.
Yes.
Dr. Jace, I know, I think you were itching. What do you got to say about the topic?
No, I feel like everyone so far has hit the nail on the head, honestly. Like I really feel like this is a tricky area to tackle, because you do at the end of the day, you want to be all inclusive, because Spanish people, Hispanic people, Latin people, we all come in different shapes and colors, right? And I feel like with this movie, I would say that they missed the mark in representing that segment of the community. There's really not that many Latino or Afro-Latina characters that are at the forefront. You have a lot of the, for the most part, the white passing or the light skin passing characters.
So Nina is considered light skinned. She's Afro, but
yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like in the same breath, you can criticize the things that you love, right? Because like even some of the things that like that we talk about all the time, like, we talk about Marvel shows and movies like literally 24/7. You, for some reason, like Spider-Man 2 to death. I don't know why, but you like it, right?
Yeah.
But I guarantee you love that movie, but you could still pick and choose like different aspects of the movie where you could be like, hey, they could have done a little bit better with this.
Sure.
But right, like whether it be the writing, the casting, whatever.
Robbie Robertson, the only black character, barely had anything to say. And he's a prominent character in the Spider-Man universe.
Exactly. And it didn't have Willem Dafoe, so that's already a problem too.
That's a different problem. But speaking on the aspect of like representation.
But yes, you see, so I feel like in the same breath, you can criticize that part about In the Heights. At the same time, I feel like the movie does a lot of positive for the community in general. Like, I think Rose even brought it up too a little bit earlier. Some people were comparing it to this is the Black Panther of the Latin community.
Said that blasphemy?
Oh, that's right.
No. Someone brought that blasphemy to me. Someone mentioned something else. Oh, Darce mentioned Crazy Rich Asians.
Which one? Oh, continue.
Wait, Darce was saying it was Crazy Rich Asians?
No, he's saying, like how the Asian community, flocked to Crazy Rich Asians and support, and
right.
Black folk flocked to go support Black Panther.
Right. Like, and obviously these movies are not in the same basket, they're not to be compared at all with each other, but in the sense that you have this demographic of people that really resonated with a particular movie, whether it be a romantic comedy, a superhero movie, or in this case, a musical. It represented that part of the community that you don't really see a lot of representation in Hollywood in general. So to just have that one little win, I feel like it's big. I feel like the Hispanic community, they should champion this movie while at the same time recognizing, okay, you're right. There is not all the boxes were checked in representing the entire Hispanic community in the film. I do think Lin Manuel should do better in, subsequent movies or musicals, whatever they may be. So I feel like, because it's kind of funny, I did not really know about this movie until I heard the controversy. So my first aspect going in was to already have this negative mindset, if that makes sense, going into it, because I already expected, like,
I was definitely looking for the dark skin throughout the movie. Yeah,
right, exactly. And to me, even though I guess for my own skin color, I guess I had representation in the movie, but I guess after watching it, I kind of just resonated more with the characters in their culture and not necessarily the color of their skin. But at the same time, some other people might resonate differently. You know, not everyone, some people want to see that likeness in their movie so that they could be like, oh, okay, so that's my representation in film, or that's my representation in whatever form of entertainment media. So I do understand, you know, the frustration, and I think moving forward it should be addressed. But at the same time, you know, this movie has so much good going for it, especially making a fan. I mean, I actually want to go watch the play now. I actually do want to watch Hamilton. I know Hamilton was good, but I had no interest in watching Hamilton until I saw this movie, and now I'm like, oh wow, okay. You have a new fan in the genre, so I feel like that alone is enough to warrant praise for me. So that's my take on at least the controversy.
If I can go next.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, of course. I was gonna go anyway. But anyway, in my personal opinion, I understand. Like, I want to repeat almost what Dr. Jace just said. I understand the controversy with the people not being represented, but instead of looking at this movie, like I mentioned, in a negative way, only look at it in a positive way. This was the first mistake, and I have the same logic when Dr. Chase recommended a game to me or a game theory. I always say the first game is where they're allowed to make all of the mistakes they want to make. Like a couple series, Halo 1, Uncharted 1, Gears 1, all of those games are dog shit. But the sequel made it better. So instead of people complaining and whining, there was not this, and this movie, just say, hey, we finally got a Hispanic movie out there. Would you have said the same thing like 5 years ago? No. This is a movie potentially that can win a movie of the year at the Oscar, whatever movie award that they have. I don't care for those, but for those who care, y'all know about it. This movie has a chance to win awards. Be happy about that. If somehow 2 years from now they make another In the Height movie or In the Height Part 2, and they cast the sequel.
No, we said the squeakle.
The squeakle. You know what? I'm gonna ignore you. And they cast, I don't know, like the whitest man in the world to be the main character, and the entire cast is about a white family living in the Heights, and they only concentrate about this white family. At this point, you can upward, but you have to take the win when you can. This is a good movie because it gives representation to your community. Be happy about that, and try to promote it as much as possible. Try to share it as much as possible. And yes, of course, make sure to educate people and say, oh, by the way, I wish I had more a representation, but be happy about that. Hold it to a pedestal a little bit. The same way they mentioned the Black Panther movie. Yeah, Black Panther did better because it was all Black people. It's kind of hard to miss. But be happy about that. Make sure that you talk about it. You say, hey, this is a movie about Hispanic. Tell it to your friends that are not Hispanic, that are not interested in musicals. Tell them about this. Tell them, hey, this is why I love it. And as bad as it is, I want to say try to be happy about it. I know it's kind of a weird way to say, but I say try to be happy about it. Be happy that 6 months from now, whenever the Oscars or the Grammys are, know that at one point or another, you're going to be sitting at home with your family and you'll be like, hey, this is the Hispanic movie that we want to win awards. Be grateful in a way. But that's my opinion about it. The race thing, it is a bad issue, but give them a chance. Everybody makes a mistake. Nobody's perfect. Take the W for now. If they mess up in the sequel, we're in the street. That's my opinion.
I do want to slightly kind of think from the perspective if I was living in the Heights and just in general. And I think everything's valid, but I think you don't have to champion it either. I think, and if you feel like it's not representative of the community that you come from, if you feel like you don't want to accept that, you can appreciate the aspects of it, but you don't have to champion it. I think it's a privilege in itself to be able to even look at a movie and decide whether you're going to champion it or not, right? Because there's plenty of people that don't even get representation. There's a layer of people within the culture that still didn't get represented in different areas too. So there's levels to the privileges of it. But I will say, appreciate the attempt, but if you don't connect with it, you don't connect with it. And I think that's okay to say, and I think that's okay to have that opinion. Just like we'd be critical of anything else. If I'm from Washington Heights, right, and I'm like, this is not reflective, and then this is the tricky thing with media and movies, okay? What happens now? So In the Heights gets popular, but then they move on to the next town or city. I think that's the difference of you looking at like Black Panther, like Wakanda's not real. So you get more flexibility in like doing things. Washington Heights is real. So, it can leave some people with a bad taste of, okay, y'all served the purpose here, I guess, of pulling what y'all needed to pull. And it's done y'all good, but now what, And so I guess that comes into a thing about what does the contribution to the Heights look like after this movie, after a movie like this being successful, then what does that mean for Washington Heights? And if there is a sort of impact in that, then I say, okay, then, there's a lot to appreciate from that attempt. But if it's a done and win an award and drop it and not touch it anymore, then I can't help but feel for the people that have that feeling too, because that's something that I think a lot of us and a lot of our coaches see in media and things. And that's the tricky thing about expanding a world that already exists or expanding a community that already exists. That's the tricky thing. You have so many areas that you can mess up, so many areas you can do it. And I think the movie was well executed from a musical, from a movie standpoint. But I can't speak on a perspective of a community standpoint, particularly in Washington Heights. And so if somebody from Washington Heights, somebody not from say, I just can't do it and I can't support it. I respect that. As much as we need to be unified, and as much as I agree with us coming together and coaches coming together at the same time, like we've all echoed, so it's not an attack on anybody. We do need to still stay critical of what we have, or they will continue to do whatever studios will do whatever they want, if they just know, okay, we give you a splash of enough. So,
let me, because Toasty, when you mentioned the whole sequel aspect, that's their chance to, if they do it wrong again, then we have the right to be mad. And for those of you who are familiar with the Broadway show, I looked up the cast of the Broadway show. I don't think the Broadway show cast is as representative as it could be for Washington Heights. If I'm not mistaken, as far as, dark skin or Afro-Latino goes, well, the darkest person, I believe, in the original Broadway cast is just Benny, played by Christopher Jackson. And, you have the roles of, Lin himself played Usnavi. And then you had the roles of Vanessa and Nina. I guess I'm just talking about the main roles here. But they are portrayed by, correct me if I'm wrong, they are portrayed by white Latinos, if I'm not mistaken. And so therefore, this movie kind of was their second chance at doing better. But with that said, I don't know if there was a heavy criticism of the Broadway show for underrepresenting, the Afro-Latinos within Washington Heights. So if anyone could speak on that, as far as, was this their second chance? Did they get it wrong twice now? Or does it come down to, like John M. Chu, the director, said, we chose who was presented for us. Like the best person to do the role.
I can't. I don't know if DoctaReeka can, but I can't speak on that. I don't know too much of when the Broadway show came out of it. I have more thoughts, of course, of like the controversy part of it, but I don't know, DoctaReeka, can you speak on that or?
Yeah, I was just going to say a part of the criticism was what you just brought up, Hoop, is that you have the show and we saw what the cast looked like, and now you have this movie and the cast pretty much looks the same, just different people. And so that was some of the additional criticism beyond just, what Washington Heights looks like in general, but that this was kind of part two. Sorry, I'm trying to get the cat. This was kind of part two when we still didn't see just some of that consideration. And I would say that as far as, I think social media certainly makes it easier for the message to get out. Afro-Latinos have been discussing the lack of representation literally forever, because at first it was like Latinos in Hollywood were being played by Italians. And then when they were finally casting Latinos, they were white Latinos. You see it in, novelas and products as far as like newscasting and varieties of countries. Like it was just recently that we're actually seeing like people in the news or sportscasters, et cetera, that are dark skinned or Black Latinos. So this has been a problem forever. I think social media just certainly ups the ability to have conversation like immediately about it. So take that information and use it for what you will.
Yeah, to me, that sounds like they fumbled again. And the same powers be behind the Broadway show that were behind the movie. So to me, that sounds like this was an opportunity for redemption. And yeah, they just kind of fumbled it again. And as you said, DoctaReeka, social media makes that high key present. Because, the original Broadway show came out in 2005, not the peak of social media. And definitely not the peak of letting people be aware of their grievances and their critiques. So, oh goodness, it's a tough little thing going on here as far as, how can we hold them accountable if they can't hear us? So, maybe they were really trying in 2005, but there was no direct way to get them the voices heard. We are powerless. But Apex, I'm gonna let you go ahead and unless anybody wants to challenge you on your thoughts, you can go ahead and speak on your thoughts, and that'll probably be our closer.
Wow, a closer. I'm sure I'm gonna be challenged though.
Okay.
Whatchamacallit? So the thing with this movie is second chance. There was so much said, so I'm trying not to like repeat it, right? But I'm gonna bring it back to they made this movie current. And if you're gonna make it current and you're gonna be all about DACA and also too, which is not, this has been issues for a while, but the musical did not capture that, and when it was made originally. So now you're trying to make it more mainstream, make it more like hip and in, right? For you not to cast more darker skin main actors was foolish, for sure, especially because you're gonna get that heat from what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Like people are understand first. I will say this, I will say maybe more just generation in general, where we lack maybe appreciation for it, but it's also, I think we're just not tolerating anymore. This has just been a year, and the past 2 years have been a year of a bunch of firsts. A lot of first things have happened for people. There's just, this is the first Hispanic movie. This is why they say, like, when Darce said, oh, this is the Crazy Rich Asians for the Hispanics, and they were like, oh, this is the Black Panther for the Hispanics. It's like, well, why is no one questioning what's so similar about all of them? Oh, they're all firsts. So, like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, everybody's, when it's the first person out, they're gonna get all the heat at first, because they're gonna be the ones to take the heat as the beginning, and then as more movies come around, it'll probably be less and less and less. But that's why it's going to be critiqued the hardest. And so, do I think it was inclusive? Sure, I think it was inclusive. Do I think it was equitable? Probably not. I think that could it have been fair, and making it as fair as possible logistically? Sure. But with actors unions and like people who get to the to audition, like they had open calls, sure, but who do they have open calls for, right? Because I can tell you right now, if I had to put my money on it, Usnavi was not an open call.
Definitely not.
Usnavi was, you're it. We're gonna make you do a screen test, and that's cute or whatever, but you're gonna get it. Like, there's not this, like, we'll have people audition so that it doesn't look like it was it, but you got it. You know what I'm saying? So, not to discredit his acting or anything like that, but I'm talking about just the process in general of the movie, right? So these processes is what's definitely getting people upset. I do agree, make more movies to get more people to get more darker skinned people in there, because we do need to get that. I do think colorism is such a global topic right now, and especially in America specifically. I feel like we are, Americans, we don't like what colorism. We're just like, boom, nope, they're not there, they're not there, they're not there, and then we love to tie everything in to anything. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like this topic, because that person wasn't there's not a black person in the main, which not just, it's just one person, Benny, here we go, it's a token black guy for everybody, right? So he has to represent all of us, and then they relate it to all the other movies and relate to everything else. So it's just, it would have been nice to have more representation, but it didn't happen. Now, in terms of with Lin Manuel Miranda doing his apology, I think his apology was effective. Do I think it was sincere? Possibly. But do I also am I a little suspicious of it? Of course, I'm suspicious of it, because you could say all the right things, but after it was done, it's still jaded. So like, you know, like you can't, it's gonna be hard to just like go past it. Like, you know, you already did it. So, and there's no redo. It's not like this isn't like a Broadway show where you opened with the cast, and then in your next run you can go ahead and recast it. You know what I'm saying? This isn't that. This is a movie. Another thing about movies is this. Other factors. When I'm putting in a role, if I'm the director in the scene, right, and I'm like, damn, I want to get everybody from Washington Heights, right, in that movie. Great. There's a bunch of other things. There's scheduling, there's funds. These people have to, like, you know, they have to make it to set every day. They have to drop with their jobs to then go into this movie. Are we going to pay them the jobs? Are we going to do this? Is a movie going to even get picked up by the movie theaters? Is it going to be a quality product? So if I'm a director, I'm like, well, I know this person's really good, this one's really good, this person's really good. I'm going to pick I probably would pick more reliable people for the main roles, because I can always replace a background character. You know what I'm saying? But a main person is going to be a lot harder, because you have contracts, you have like other things like that too. Specific contracts go to specific agencies. You know, it's just a bunch of factors. So whenever I look at this type of stuff, I'm like, gosh, it's really hard, because when you're trying to get all this production and a producer is like, I'm going to give you millions of dollars, but I get a say. Now we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's not just Lin. Lin is not everyone. It's gonna fall on Lin because he's the face of it, but he's probably not the only one who made that decision either. He don't got all that money to fund the whole thing by himself, you know. So it's a lot of factors. It also is different maybe from like us or someone else who's like maybe a little bit more cognizant of that. So I understand the typical viewer being like, this was an opportunity, and it was an opportunity that was missed, you know. And I don't want to keep seeing firsts. I don't want to be like, oh, we're gonna have a new movie about another Dominican, heavily Dominican city in the United States, and then they're gonna have other white people again, you know. And it's just continuous rejection, continuous like that, and it's gonna hit ahead, and people are gonna get mad. So that's how I feel about it. I feel like everything, like how DoctaReeka said, it's all valid. I knew this was gonna come. What are we gonna do about it? I think that what needs to be done is, you know, getting more people to make more movies. And making more original stories. Like, not original in the sense of this, but original. Lin is a genius. His writing ability and his songwriting and his way to make these shows Broadway and then make them into film is just ridiculously amazing. We gotta find those people and make them do. And then when we see those talented people, give them the shots more to try to make something else. But even then, it doesn't give an excuse for the people who are like, oh, you know, they've been doing this forever, so they get a free pass. You know, I feel like they just already know what the game is, and they already had this PR statement ready before the movie came out. To be completely honest, that's what I feel about it. But not to crap on them, you know what I'm saying? But it is a hard truth. A hard truth is that they were ready for you. They were ready for you to complain. They were ready for you to be mad. And honestly, they didn't care to do it. They knew it was gonna make money. They knew it was gonna make money to put the mainstream people, put the bigger countries, the Caribbean people, and put in Mexico, which Mexico's in the original Broadway movie, but you know, like other things like that, and put these people who can get face, because that's they're the people who got the billete, the money. So it's horrible to say, but that's the name of the game, is that it's such a melting pot. And when you talk of big factor people, they're not gonna care.
I agree. There's no way that they couldn't have seen it coming. And I just want to mention this because we're talking about first and seconds and redos. And we mentioned Crazy Rich Asians. That movie got a lot of criticism from the Asian community. And John M. Chu worked on it. So it's not his first like rodeo. Like he supposedly learned from his mistakes then, in a community that he is a part of. So I totally agree that there's no way they couldn't have seen it coming, and that they definitely had that apology ready and all the PR and the marketing ready to go. Yes.
Yeah, I think something I really liked that Rose the Crafter said earlier was like, you can be proud, but like, don't be satisfied. So absolutely find joy in it and hold it up as a product that is really well representative of one specific experience, but also, hey, we got to do better. We got to continue to form better opportunities for folks to continue to tell diverse stories. So this should not be the only one. And I really liked that piece that he shared earlier. So I just wanted to reiterate it because I think it really caps off the main theme of the criticism is you can love it and criticize it, and those things are both okay.
I for one, I can't personally like directly, I can indirectly relate to this movie in a lot of ways. But as far as, colorism goes, and, what Rita Moreno was saying was very dismissive towards Black lives. I'm always in support of Black lives, whether it be, African American, African, Haitian, or just any form of Afro-Latino. And, I think a lot of people like to, group minorities together and have minority think as far as, one minority struggles, we need to support. And so I'm not necessarily, let's throw all our struggles into the pot and just say we're all the same. But I will come to the defense of dark skin portrayal because I think it's always been a progressive issue in Hollywood. And goodness gracious, I'm looking at the cast of like the new West Side Story, where it's a chance to throw in a mix of Puerto Rican people. They look pretty all light skinned and white passing. And I'm just like, well, damn it. Why don't we just watch the original movie with the white face on the brown face on the white actors? But, it's going to take, as Apex said, we need to craft some new minds into creating something new. We got to always hold accountable the people who are already in power and keep challenging them to push the status quo on what it means to, just represent a culture and a community where it's all inclusive. And, they're not always going to hit the mark. And it's not always up to one film to do the check boxes. I'm telling you right now, Black Panther is not my quintessential Black film. But, I understand why people came through for Black Panther. That's not my champion. It's a fictional nation, whatever. But listen, I like to wrap things up now. I think, y'all have not overstayed your welcome. I want y'all to stay more. We can keep going for days. And I think we have a lot of perspectives that have been displayed on the table. And I think we all learned a lot from each other. And I love hearing from y'all. And I'm glad y'all were able to make it to the table today.
Took it to new heights.
What was that?
We took it to new heights today.
We took it to new heights.
Yes.
I also want to say just real quick, I know in lieu of us being inclusive, I know I accidentally said Latinos and Latinx. So just to be inclusive in that.
See, I was saying Latinos for those who don't say Latinx, but I don't care which way it goes. It's not my culture. I will say whatever doesn't offend, or if I'm in a household.
I'm not saying just me. It's all of us.
I would say Latinx to be that's the most inclusive. So always
Latinx.
go for the most inclusive.
Mm-hmm. All right, Latinx. I mean, hey, at the Yonkō Table, we support We do not shun anyone. Ain't that
All right,
right,
Lin.
Dr. J?
All right, Lin.
Right.
No.
The apology ready.
No. Don't.
You already had it ready. Damn it, man.
Listen,
Hopefully
I'm
your
not no
viewers
Lin.
have-
I'm not even a fan of Lin's rapping. Shout out to Anthony Ramos because I don't want to watch a 2-hour movie of Lin rapping.
Lin can rap, okay?
I didn't say he couldn't. I just don't like his voice when he raps. Period. So I'd rather hear him sing than rap. So I'll take Piragua.
Yes.
Yes.
Lola. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. It was better than, I'm glad, whatever. Listen, we're going to go ahead and close this out. I appreciate everybody for coming today, dropping some knowledge, giving us perspective, and just opening up the idea of what, this film did for a lot of us, and just speaking on behalf of what Hollywood could do better as a whole. Dr. Jace, you got any closing statements for the table today?
No, I felt like we all touched on various topics today, and I just want to thank you, everyone here, like GrandMasterHoop. Thank you guys for coming out here, talking about this movie, educating us on the play and I know more about this movie coming out than I did going in. So I appreciate everyone's input today. Well said.
All right, well, let's just go around. Shout out to Darce, who already left, Rose the Crafter, Toasty, DoctaReeka, MF Casas, and Apex. And of course, Dr. Jace, thank you for watching the film upon my recommendation. I'm glad you were able to join us today.
It was worth it.
I mean,
that 2 hours and 22 minutes just for Piragua. I'll tell you that right now.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Nah, man, we walking out with, listen, I'm going to close it on this. All right. 1, go like our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube page, follow us or whatever, the social medias, wherever you listen to your podcast, go ahead. But listen, y'all, with Hollywood, we just need a little paciencia y fe. I'm GrandMasterHoop. That's the Yonkō Table. Stay hungry, folks. See you next time.